I will grease you up. Very good. You have a very plump booty.
Well, Boys and Reason's got a point.
You have a very plump booty. I will grease you up. Very good. You have a very plump booty.
Well, Boys and Reason's got a point.
You have a very plump booty. I will grease you up. Very good. You have a very plump booty.
Well, Boys and Reason's got a point.
You have a very plump booty.
But I mean, like, what does it take for y'all to see through these people? I don't even understand it. Like, what's the point of even talking about it? I could have told you that dude was a goober tard, a goblin, a demon, and a goober tard.
The counter of evidence did not say that you cannot text a girl with a very plump booty. I will grease you up. Very good. You have a very plump booty.
Well, Boys and Reason's got a point.
You have a very plump booty. I will grease you up. Very good. You have a very plump booty.
Well, Boys and Reason's got a point.
You have a very plump booty.
I don't even want to spend any time in the loser sphere.
I was texting with the plump booties. Could I send you some more texts?
Oh, I already told you it was a goober tard.
I can't believe that the losers were acting like the losers that they are. What? Losers were acting like losers?
I will grease you up. Very good. You have a very plump booty.
Well, Boys and Reason's got a point.
You have a very plump booty. I will grease you up. Very good. You have a very plump booty.
Well, Boys and Reason's got a point.
You have a very plump booty. The Council of Ephesus made an error when it said that you can't talk.
Mormon space wives. Let's create lives. Mormon space wives. God the Father has a body. It's a very toned body. He looks good. Mormon space wives. Mormon space wives. Space sex. Space sex. Magic underwear fitting tight. Magic underwear is feeling right. Mormon space wives. Mormon space wives. Lords of Cola. I would like to have intimacies with you on the planet of Naboo. Mormon space wives. Magic underwear. Where? Right there. Mormon space wives. Let's create lives. Mormon space wives. God the Father has a body. It's a very toned body. He looks good. Mormon space wives. Mormon space wives. Space sex. Space sex. Magic underwear fitting tight. Magic underwear is feeling right. Mormon space wives. Mormon space wives. Lords of Cola. I would like to have intimacies with you on the planet of Naboo. Mormon space wives. Magic underwear. Where? Right there. Mormon space wives. Space error. Ooh, I think we have a hit.
You are in a a cult. You are not in a church. You invented your own church.
Excuse me, you're just making an assumption that all the saints agree.
They
And
do. They do. I can go read them. You have no saints. You're a goblin, a demon, a boomer tard. A demon, a boomer
You're
tard.
just making an assumption.
You're a goblin, a demon, a boomer tard.
Excuse me.
A demon, a boomer tard. You're a goblin, a demon, a boomer tard. Have no saints. A demon, a boomer tard.
Excuse me.
A demon, a boomer tard. A demon, a boomer
You're just making an assumption. Are all the councils inspired and inerrant?
The ecumenical synod, yes.
So all the ecumenical synods are inspired and inerrant.
Correct.
How do you know?
Because the Holy Spirit leads us to know the truth.
How do you know the Holy Spirit leads you to know the truth?
Because they're in accord with all the other ecumenical doctrines, all the other testimonies of the saints and the scriptures.
You're just making an assumption.
You're a goblin, a demon, a boomer tard. A demon, a boomer
You're
tard.
just making an assumption.
You're a goblin, a demon, a boomer tard.
Excuse me.
A demon, a boomer tard. You're a goblin, a demon, a boomer tard. Have no saints. A demon, a boomer tard.
Excuse me.
A demon, a boomer tard. A demon, a boomer
You're just making an assumption.
You're a goblin, a demon, a boomer tard. A demon, a boomer tard.
Excuse me.
You're a goblin, a demon, a boomer tard. A demon, a boomer tard. Have no saints. You're a goblin, a demon, a boomer tard.
Excuse me.
A demon, a boomer tard. You're a goblin, a demon, a boomer
You're just making an assumption.
Science comes out of medieval universities. This may be totally lost on modern people, but no, actually modern science comes out of universities. Guess where universities come from? Byzantium. What is the theology of Byzantium? Orthodoxy. The longest running empire, the most successful economic empire in the history of the world was Orthodox. It was Byzantium. So we give universities, we give civilization, all of these things come from the treasures of Orthodoxy. So I would say that we can prove that our morals, our theology is from God. I'm not saying that just because of history it proves it. I was just rebutting certain points that he made about history. We've actually built civilizations. Canon law is very important in the history of law. History of law theory. Universities come from Orthodoxy. So when we reject dialectics and dialectical tensions and the presuppositions of dialectics, which are the very root of all Gnostic systems, are all built on dialectical tensions and the assumptions of dialectics, all the way back to Plato. When we reject that, what we're left with is a unique revealed anthropology and a unique metaphysic, a unique worldview, a unique ethic that is not just in theory, it's actually been proved and stamped into history in the longest empire in the world.
All right, what's up? Y'all ready for this? It's time for another analysis, debate analysis, speech analysis, esoteric analysis. You know what we do here. We do it well. We're going to be analyzing the Face Lords.
Face Lords. Welcome to the era of the Face Lord.
We're going to look at the meltdown. Twitter is having a meltdown over Tucker's speech and Ben Shapiro's speech. And it's quite predictable in terms of Israel's multifaceted war, in terms of its campaign for who's on what side and who's paid to have what take. Because whether it's the evangelical slop sphere or whether it's the Ziosphere, they are all in a rage today. That doesn't mean that I agree with everything that Tucker says, because I don't know yet what Tucker says. However, I was indirectly related to this because Ben Shapiro called out Lord Voldemort in his speech, because Lord Voldemort, of course, has had a tremendous impact, not just in this generation, but amongst the Face Lords. So whether it's, Candace, or whether it's Tucker or Fuentes, Alex has had an impact on all of those people in varying degrees. And I think perhaps Ben Shapiro was lashing out at that as well. So we're going to look at the bold strategy of, in 2025, still denying that there is a move for globalization. That was a bold strategy for Facts and Logic Ben to, I guess, lock down the quadruple stabbied normies. I mean, who in 2025 still thinks there's no push for globalization and a global world order? It's quite absurd, but that's where we're at with Con Inc. and the normie cons. They're still pushing the type of slop that you would hear in the 2000s. Oh, is this a conspiracy theory? Why are we entertaining insane conspiracy theories? Because the boomer mind matrix of unfettering support and worship for the nation state of Israel, the Zionist, atheist, socialist nation state of Israel, is cracking. The narrative is collapsing. Now, that doesn't mean that everything that the other side criticizes or says is necessarily true. I have areas of disagreement with Fuentes. I have areas of disagreement with Candace. As you guys know, I particularly disagree with the idea that the papacy is in any way not Judaized. It is 100% Judaized, especially post-Vatican II. But on the issue of foreign policy and doing every bidding of Netanyahu in Israel, that is becoming something that no one is interested in anymore. So we have the Shapiro side freaking out. And you even have Netanyahu saying, I'm reading the Strauss book on how to not lose to Rome or to Edom again. So because they do not believe that there is actually a Judeo-Christian heritage, that's a psyop that even Jews don't believe. Jews believe that Christianity is Edom, that it is a enemy of Israel and must be subverted and destroyed before their so-called Mashiach comes. So that's their religious fanatical perspective. And as you know, as I've said, I think rabbinic Judaism is really just a cult. That's the best way to understand and categorize this religion. But it also has a lot of power and influence, obviously, in American foreign policy, and particularly the mind-graped world of evangelifishdom, which we have been critiquing and refuting and arguing against for, I came out of this in 2003 or 2. So I ceased being an evangelical dispensationalist 20 plus years ago, 22, 3 years ago. But there are masses of the population. There are just droves of the population in Middle America and Bible Belt who still believe this retarded heresy. So how do we break these people from the boomer mind matrix? Well, it's happening. And it's happening from characters that you may or may not like. You may not like Tucker. You may not like Fuentes. You may not like Candace. You might not like the other myriad of figures, some of whom are quite sus and nasty. I'm talking about the other lesser known, the straight up neo-in people out there. I don't even go into that domain. As you know, we've invited many of them to come to debate, and it doesn't go very well. So, but the real issue is, of course, can America break free from the dual citizen control of its foreign policy that people like Ben Shapiro openly represent? He has stated that he is Israel first. He has stated the normie view on pretty much everything down the line. He is the sort of face, the essence of Con Inc., normie conservatism. And as I said, it's bold to, even in 2025, still act like there's no such thing as a push for global government or a push for a new world order, even though, as I covered on the 4th hour today, countless books that we've lectured through on the push for globalization. So these people are either bad faith and ignorant, or they're just straight up liars. You can decide, it doesn't really matter. So let's comment on this speech and comment then on Tucker's speech, both of which are causing rage. Everyone is raging.
I really believe that the best way to judge a goodness of a man is to see the goodness of his wife and his children. And on that measure, Charlie was unsurpassed. Erica and her children are in all of our hearts. And of course, this is an incredibly bittersweet moment. It's absolutely bitter because of the murder of our friend Charlie Kirk, an irreplaceable human being. I knew Charlie from the time he was 18 years old, and I watched him build himself into one of the most powerful exponents of
But keep in mind that this idea that there's this joint coalition of evangelicals and Jewish Zionists is only for political expediency. Zionists do not in any shape, form, or capacity appreciate or enjoy Christianity. The Talmudic teaching is that Christianity is the absolute enemy and that Jesus is damned, boiling in excrement, etc. So the idea that he's presenting that, oh, we're all actually on the same team, that's all just for show.
In America, one of the most powerful coalition builders in American history. But it's also sweet to see the number of people who continue to remember Charlie each and every day and to carry on his mission. Well, today, I want to talk about the future of the country. And the future of this country, this amazing country, relies on the future of the conservative movement. It relies on what TPUSA defines as its core mission: freedom, free markets, and limited government. And most of all, the future.
So conservatism is just basic bitch libertarianism. Just never can be actually concerned for your people group or your heritage or your lineage, because that would be racist and that would be identity politics. Although Ben Shapiro also says that that is absolutely applicable to Jews to appreciate, love their heritage.
Of this country relies on truth. This country relies on truth because victory, true, real, lasting victory, cannot be achieved without truth. Victory without truth is victory for a lie, and that is no victory at all. And unity without truth is no unity. It is merely solidarity in falsehood. You see, we live in a chaotic time.
No, I mean, that's true in regard to like ecumenism and things like that, but just saying slogans like unity without truth is no real unity. I mean, that's something I said this week about the false union with the papacy and the EP. So that really doesn't say anything itself. It just depends on what we're even talking about. And I don't believe that Ben Shapiro is actually committed to what's true. Ben Shapiro is committed to an Israel first agenda. So again, none of this all rings hollow. And I guess you guys saw too that Lord Voldemort, by the way, challenged Ben to a debate. Of course, that's not going to happen. Ben acts like he has the larger platform than anybody when, of course, Alex for many, many years was larger than him.
Time when lots of people are asking lots of legitimate questions about the conservative movement. What ought we to think about the relationship between free markets and traditional virtue? How should we...
Nobody's even asking that question primarily. I mean, I've been criticizing, classical libertarianism for over a decade, and all that gets you is criticized, shut down, shut out. I was criticizing Dr. Jordan Peterson about this 10 years ago. I was criticizing the same circles that ended up being the Daily Wire 10 years ago. And I didn't have millions of dollars behind me, and so I didn't get as big a platform as Daily Wire, but he's still stuck in 2010. In Ben Shapiro's mind, it's 2010, 2007, 8, the Ron Paul era of the, free markets. And people are way beyond this. And nobody is interested in rehashing the libertarian era debate, except for midwits and low IQ people that are in the Ben Shapiro audience, his captured plantation audience.
To pragmatic foreign policy that spreads our interests and upholds our ideals. What governmental means are appropriate to achieve political ends? All of these questions aren't new, of course. They've been asked for as long as human beings have been talking about politics, thousands of years. And over the course of this conference, you'll hear a lot of opinions on a lot of these questions. I have my own perspectives on them, of course. You can hear them every single day on my show. My fundamental values have been the same for 25 years. Peace through strength on foreign policy. Traditional values on social policy. Free markets with regard to economics. But today, I want to talk about something even more important. How to discern those attempting to speak truth from frauds and grifters.
Now, how are we going to know who a fraud and a grifter is when we know that the Israeli government is paying for tweets? So does that count, or like what's going to count here for frauds and grifters? I'll be interested to see the benchmark for who fits into that category. And why has Ben Shapiro, to my knowledge, never debated? Because he kind of built, like Crowder, a platform on debating, right? They both built up platforms from debating. And Crowder at least wants to take on big name people. I know he's wanted to debate some big name people. Has Ben Shapiro ever debated anyone other than Alex O'Connor that I can recall, who is basically a philosophy noob? So Ben Shapiro's never debated anybody other than like college purple-haired freaks who don't know anything, who can barely talk. And that works to build up a giant audience of duping normies, where you could dupe a lot of people into thinking, oh, wow, this guy's so smart. He's debated all the purple-haired freaks and he wins. Wow. Like, that's nothing, dude. That's low-hanging fruit. So built a whole career on low-hanging fruit, had one decent debate with Alex O'Connor, and wouldn't debate Candace. Whether you think Candace is crazy or would win or would lose or whatever, like, why didn't he just agree to that debate? So there's, to my knowledge, he's never debated a substantial challenger person.
Because something is new. An informational environment rife with both opportunity and chaos. Opportunity because the legacy media gatekeepers are no longer in charge of what we see and what we hear.
Oh, yeah, the legacy media gatekeepers. What exactly is the Daily Wire? Funded by anti-Trinitarian Texas billionaire Zionists? Come on, dude.
Chaos because an anarchic informational environment means we actually have to be smart in how we assess the information and arguments that we hear. Why does that matter? Well, because today the conservative movement is in serious danger.
Why does that matter?
It is in danger, not just from a left that all too frequently excuses everything up to and including murder. The conservative movement is also in danger from charlatans who claim to speak in the name of principle, but actually traffic in conspiracy.
Uh-oh, here we go. Now, wait a minute. By the way, who made you the face of conservatism, by the way? First of all, you represent a foreign government first. Your principles are basic bitch libertarianism. Where in anywhere is conservative at all, except for you don't like TRANZ.
Excuses everything up to and including murder. The conservative movement is also in danger from charlatans who claim to speak in the name of principle, but actually traffic in conspiracism and dishonesty, who offer nothing but bile and despair, who seek to undermine fundamental principles of conservatism by championing enervation and grievance.
By championing grievance, conspiracy theories, conspiracism. Okay. Well, I have Moses Hess's book, one of the founders of Zionism, political Zionism, right here. And in Revival of Israel in the 1860s, they talked about utilizing Freemasonry on pages 114 and 15, and the Rothschild brothers' plan to establish the nation state of Israel. So this is years before political Zionism. Does that count, or is that not? Is that history or conspiracism? I don't even, what exactly counts as that? Now, this is a person, as we said, who says that there is no such thing as a push for a new world order. There is no conspiracy of people behind shadowy, corridors in smoke-filled rooms. Are you sure about that? Because we can go read these people. For example, David Rockefeller says on page 404 of his memoirs that one of the most powerful, wealthy, influential men in American history, that he is a absolute proud internationalist who proudly set up and supports a global government and a push for a one world order through entities like the Council on Foreign Relations, Bilderberg, etc. So there is his book. There he is bragging about it. But according to Ben Shapiro, that doesn't exist. It's meaningless, worthless to talk about. You're vile and you're evil and you have bad motives if you talk about history. Now, I'm 1 or 2 classes away from a double major undergrad in history and philosophy. Not even talking about grad school, which was philosophy and lit. But I mean, right now, guys, we're lecturing through Burton Hersh's book, The Old Boys, which is the history of the OSS and CIA coming out of elite families, particularly the Rockefellers, and by extension, the Rothschilds with British intelligence. And the origins are explicit in the texts. So they say it's for global governance. They say in practical idealism that the plan is to destroy European peoples. And Quigley says that Count Coudenhov's plan was accepted by the British establishment, Lord Lionel Curtis, and others for global governance. That's just a couple resources. And as you know, if you follow my work in my channel, we've spent 10 years going back to starting with Tragedy and Hope, lecturing through that whole 1,300 page book. We spent the last 10 years lecturing through book by book by book by book by book. And this faker who's a midwit stands up here to millions of people representing conservatism, telling everybody that there is no such thing as a conspiracy for global government, and you're an evil person if you talk about it. Well, Moses Hess said that there's a conspiracy to make Israel the center of the global government, and that it would be Jerusalem, that all the nations would come and worship the Jewish nation as its Messiah. He doesn't seem to believe in an actual Messiah. It's the Jewish nation state, according to Moses Hess. So they just lie. Or they're ignorant, either way. And we have 200,000 people following my channel. They have millions of people following them, mainly because I think of money, right? We know that Ben built an audience putting millions of dollars into Facebook ads, allegedly. And of course, we built everything here from the ground up with only support from Lord Voldemort, Andrew Wilson, a handful of good people who supported us to get us growth, or natural organic growth. And this is what you get. This is the normie slop that's out here to placate the masses, the dum-dums, the evangelical idiots. And my whole Twitter feed right now is nothing but the whole thing. If we go to the For You, all I saw was Israel tweets today and how awesome Ben Shapiro is. That's all I could see. Now, I don't go to the For You. I hate the For You, but I did test out the For You today just to see. And well, it was on my phone, but let's check trending. No. Oh, here we go. Ben Shapiro, a great man, true patriot. Ben Shapiro gave the greatest speech ever. What? Why am I seeing Mark Levin? I don't follow Mark Levin. See, this is why the For You is to show you all this tard stuff. And then the ever present Jesus was Jewish. Jesus was a Hebrew who worshiped the religion that he set down. Jesus was not a rabbinic Jew, so they just equivocate as usual. Now, here's one from Clint Russell that's correct, right? Ben Shapiro is the future and Tucker is the old dead. No, nobody believes that. Nobody, the reason that they're going crazy is that they're losing the narrative. The Zio crowd, the neoconservative, Zio dispensationalist goobers are losing. And so they are freaking out like Joel Berry. Tucker is stammering, incoherent. And they try to freeze it on some sort of like Hitlerian looking image, which is all like fake and gay. I mean, why this evangelical Zio fake pastors? Tucker's evil, Tucker's evil, Tucker's evil, Tucker's evil. Now we're going to listen to Tucker's speech, but look, everything is Ben Shapiro is fire. Ben Shapiro is awesome. Ben Shapiro mugged everybody so hard. How much money did these people make from these stupid ass tweets? And then Lord Voldemort challenged him to a debate.
Ben Shapiro, I challenge you to a debate. I challenge you anywhere, anytime, any place.
Tucker failed, Ben Shapiro won. It's the greatest speech of all time. And Tucker is the worst person of all time. Right. Now, if Tucker says pro-Muslim things, I'm going to disagree with that because it's a false dialectic. We're going to see. We'll take a look at that. But you get my point. Like, this is why I never go to the For You. I don't want to see infinity, Zio stuff, just mindless stuff when I check Twitter. I learned about all this stuff in 2003, 4, 5, 6. I'm 20 years beyond all that stuff.
People are frauds, and they are grifters, and they do not deserve your time. And they are something worse than that. A danger to the only movement capable of stopping the left from wrecking the country wholesale. So today, I want to discuss 5 obligations that people who speak to you on matters of importance have to you. I want to speak to you about our duties. Our first duty is truth. We owe you the truth. That means we should not mislead you. It means we shouldn't hide the ball. We shouldn't be deliberately obscure about what we're telling you.
Like when you said everybody should get the stabs, like when you supported all the coof Fauci, you were like pro Fauci. I mean,
we have an obligation to clarity and to honesty. This means that we actually have to be clear in the language that we use. We should not traffic in generality. We should not say things like, they shot Charlie, without specifying whom we mean by they. The person who allegedly shot Charlie Kirk, and whom all the evidence points at, all of it, is a gay, trans-loving furry. If we are going to target ideological movements, we should talk about the fact that the radical trans movement treats all those who oppose it as existential threats. Or if we're going to talk about the Democratic Party making room for the radical trans movement and echoing its inflammatory rhetoric, well, we should talk about that. Those are specific problems, and they require specific responses.
Yeah, but what about foreign influence from other governments? Is that not a problem? What about Jonathan Pollard? Is that a problem? I mean, come on.
Intelligence to Mossad, to members of TPUSA in Charlie's murder, or a cover-up in that murder, then we, as people with a microphone, have a moral obligation to call that out by name.
So, no, what is the moral obligation? Even if you think that everything that Candace is saying is crazy, on what basis is there a moral obligation to call out people asking questions? I don't agree with, I have a lot of criticisms of Candace's stuff and her whole Roman Catholic nonsense, tradcat nonsense. Okay, but on what basis, what Talmudic ethics, is that the basis for the obligation to call it out? Like, what are you talking about? Look at all these dumb conservative normies. Like, this is why liberals get so snickery and like snooty and snobby and self-satisfied, is because they think conservative is all these goobers who are just basically dumb normies.
Erica Kirk and TPUSA never should have been put in the position to have to defend themselves against such specious and evil attacks, particularly in a time of mourning.
Well, maybe, but I mean, it really just depends. So just because a person is mourning, I mean, if you're a suspect in, say, a spouse's murder, and I'm not saying that Erica Kirk is a suspect, I'm just saying there is no like self-evident rule or principle that says you can never be a suspect because you're in mourning. I mean, a criminal who has committed a close of kin or spouse murder can still mourn or give the appearance of mourning. Like, what are you talking about? This is all just assertions. By the way, this is why he would not actually do well in a debate. Can somebody name a debate opponent that actually like was a significant intellectual challenge? Like, who other than, and Alex O'Connor is not a significant intellectual challenge. He's not some great brain. He's a midwit too. So where is the actual high IQ person that Ben Shapiro has actually ever debated? because he has this reputation of being, oh, he's this amazing debater. Okay, when did he do this? Other than purple-haired college tards? Never.
And the people who refuse to condemn Candace's truly vicious attacks, and some of them are speaking here, are guilty of cowardice. Yes, cowardice. The fact that they
So wait, is he saying Tucker's a coward? I don't understand.
have said nothing while Candace has been vomiting all sorts of hideous and conspiratorial nonsense into the public square for years is just as cowardly.
Now, didn't Ben Shapiro put himself up as a free speech advocate? So unless the speech is criminal, like why, on what basis, as a libertarian free speech advocate, is Ben Shapiro going to say that even if it's vile conspiracy vomit, like what's the moral duty to call it out? On what basis? Like, can you show me the section of the Mishnah or the Talmud scrolls, Ben, that have the moral obligation to call out conspiracy theories? By the way, the Talmud itself is conspiratorial. It argues that Jesus was a sorcerer. So I'm confused. Do I have to condemn that conspiracy theory too, Ben, or what?
Second, because we owe you the truth, we owe you the duty to speak out of principle, not personal feeling. It should not matter whether we despise someone or whether we love someone. The question is what they say and what they do, and whether those things are morally decent or not. On a political level, do they foster freedom, justice, and prosperity? On a personal level, do they...
What is moral decency according to Talmudic ethics? And I'm not harping on that to be obtuse. That is his ethical system. So, I mean, give us a coherent account of your moral standards in regard to how, you believe that you should handle your opposition. I mean, particularly, he believes Christians are absolute trash enemies, Edom, they're enemies of Israel. But he doesn't tell any of his, dumb boomer evangelical audience that.
They treat others as they would wish to be treated. Personal feeling is not a substitute for moral judgment. To take again the Candace Owens situation as an example, friendship with public figures who say or do evil things is not an excuse for silence on the matter. Politics is not the sisterhood of the traveling pants. Politics is about principle, and if you are willing to sacrifice basic truth and simple principle in favor of emotional solidarity, you have betrayed your fundamental...
So some people are having a debate over the size of this podium, and I did look into this. If you go down the rabbit hole, it actually turns out those little things that they use to separate and keep the pizza from getting squished, that's actually the podium that they're using at TPUSA for Ben Shapiro. So there's Ben's podium, if you're wondering the size, and that is to scale right there. That is the actual size.
Duty to the American people. Grand Canyon University, our sponsor, is an affordable, private, easy for me. New and existing customers can get 50 young mother and thus shying away from condemning her actions or fibbing about them. That is a non-starter. Meghan Markle is a young mother. Ilhan Omar is a young mother. That doesn't matter. And when Meghan said this week, quote, "My goal and my job here is to try to understand, yes, where Candace is coming from on this."
I don't really believe that Ben Shapiro actually cares about the lives of Gentile children, especially with the sacrament of abortion, which most Jews, maybe Ben Shapiro has some way around this, but most Jews believe that abortion is a religious right, even amongst the so-called Orthodox Jews. So I'm not sure I believe that he's really concerned about babies.
And says she sees no purpose in inserting herself, quote, into this on one side. That is a moral and logical absurdity. There is only one moral side here, Erica Kirk's side.
Well, I'm not sure I buy that line of argument. That's also a fallacy. That's a false either or. So Ben's speech so far has been loaded with slogans and rhetoric and fallacies, and is much more in the domain of propaganda than an actually convincing intellectual speech. But as Bertrand Russell said, you will capture a much larger audience with smells, bells, loud noises, a 20-piece orchestra than you will with anything to do with facts and logic.
You know, the side of the widow with 2 children whose husband was shot live on camera in front of all of us. Friendship with the person accusing TPUSA of a cover-up of Charlie's murder is no excuse for cowardice. Third, and relatedly,
so again, two shots at Tucker because Tucker won't condemn everything that Candace says and does. So again, how is that facts and logic though? This is all moral like blackmail. And it's the same thing that notice the same tactic of Roots of Orthodoxy and Ben Shapiro here. And again, I do not agree with all of Candace's views. I think Candace, as we said in my critique of her, has a tendency to latch on to things without a lot of evidence and run with it. And her answer oftentimes is, okay, well, this is what I feel. Okay, well, just saying this is what I feel isn't good enough when it comes to this type of stuff. Okay. So, but I still fall down on the side of when Lord Voldemort was attacked over questioning events. And if you remember, Piers Morgan did the exact same thing to Lord Voldemort back in the day.
So you believe that, of course, you believe that George Bush was guilty and wanted to kill all the American people.
Just this weird sort of fake that George Bush ran the whole thing, which of course Alex Jones never said that. George Bush wasn't competent enough to run an entire black ops operation. And so what they do is they characterize the person who's questioning. And it doesn't matter if the motives are bad. This is why everybody wants to shift debates into the motives of the person debating. It's the gayest thing ever, because you can never prove or disprove anyone's motives unless you have explicit textual DM evidence of, I have bad motives, I will fool them all. But hardly anybody's actually going to put that into text or into print if they have bad motives. So you can never really prove bad motives. It's a slimy debate tactic to turn things into moral blackmail and moral motivations and debating motives. You can't prove or disprove people's motives. It's very, very difficult. But it's the easiest way to deflect the debate into debating about people. Now, in the case of people in our audience, in our circles, they do it all the time. Rather than, say, listening to Andrew Wilson's argument, Andrew Wilson has a beer and smokes a cigar. He smokes a cigarette. He smokes a pipe. No, he doesn't. I'm just joking. Like, look, it's Gandalf with a pipe. No, as if that has anything to do with what's being said. They do it to me all the time. Oh, Jay made a fat joke about Eric Ibarra, so he's mean. I don't have to listen to what he says, and all of his arguments are therefore disqualified because he made a fat joke 7 years ago about Ibarra. It's like, are you seriously? This is the level of childishness and just soap opera, but that's what masses of people resonate with. And the thing with like Ben Shapiro or Roots of Orthodoxy or Roots of Grifting, I guess we should say, is that they know that that's a better way to get attention than dealing with any actual issues. And in the case of this scammer, which we said day one he was a scammer. Remember all of the comments when I started going into his Instagram comments calling out Roots of Orthodoxy as a scam? And it was like just walls of people attacking me.
Oh, he's so mean. Oh, he's living up to his reputation. Look at Dyer. How dare he say this about such a fine young man?
You mean the guy who's the BFF buddy with Voice of Greason? And then it comes out the Voice of Greason is a fake
a fraud, a phony, as I said all along, but I'm still bad because I talked about it. Then we talked about how Roots of Orthodoxy was scamming all of the dumb new Orthodox converts. And I don't mean they're all dumb. I mean, they're dumb because they're new and they think, oh, it's just an Orthodox channel. What's wrong with Roots of Orthodoxy? Because it's not Orthodox. He's a fake. He even grifted and tricked the priests. And what does he do once he gets called out and the people start to figure out his scam? You cannot make this up. He fake cries with crocodile tears. The fakest thing ever. I got to make this big screen so you can see this. His sniffles and his tears are so fake. There are no tears, by the way. He could have at least, stuck an onion in his face and at least made some fake tears if he was going to go this route. According to him, no ortho bros significantly virtue posted about the Catholic school pop event. What? First of all, it's not true. Tons of Orthodox people talked about it. But imagine let's just think about this psychologically of how messed up this is. This means that in his mind, the way that you actually care about people is through virtue piety signaling in social media. So from his vantage point, if you don't virtue piety signal on social media, you're not actually being pious. How does he know that people weren't privately praying? It's this wildest, weirdest thing ever. It's totally transparent to anybody with any sense of discernment. As I said for years that this guy was a fraud, finally, thank God, everybody is finally saying Jay was right. This guy was a fraud. Yeah, I told you. Of course. I said it day one. How did I know? Because he put his 100,000 view silver play button on his icon wall at the center. Nobody who is serious about Christ puts their icon wall behind them in their videos and puts the play button in the middle of the icon wall. That's the fakest thing ever, obviously. Then it comes out that he's not Orthodox. He's hosting all of these Orientals. Then it starts being a thing where he's pushing all this piety signaling stuff. Then he starts asking priests, trying to get them to condemn the Ortho Bros. And then it became obvious, hey, wait a minute, he's doing the same thing as that Christed culture guy. They act like they're Eastern Orthodox, build an audience, and then switch it over. What happened? Is the audio messing up or something? Let me do the workaround. Test. Is that better? Is the mic not working? I mean, everything looks like it's going good over here. By the way, did y'all like the upgrade? We got a giant fancy new light. Okay. So he and that other Oriental dude built a giant audience based around the impression that they're Eastern Orthodox. Then they start sliding in all their Oriental stuff. And the Orientals did this exact same thing in 2018. It's a scam. And you guys are so naive. I'm not talking about my audience. I'm talking about people who are new to Orthodoxy, get on Instagram and they see reels and whatnot. And they just assume everybody's good-willed and everybody's Orthodox. And then it turns out after they built a giant audience based on deception, no, they're not Orthodox. They never were. And we don't even know they were actually inquirers. So what they did was they presented themselves to Father Josiah, to Father Paul Truenbach or whoever, as if they were inquiring into Orthodoxy. I don't even think that's true. I mean, there's no evidence. We're just taking these grifters' words for it. So then they do all these interviews, build up the channel, and then they start slipping in the Oriental Monophysite stuff. That started making everybody suspicious. That's when people noticed, hey, wait a minute, this guy puts his play button on his icon wall. Nobody who's serious about Orthodoxy would do that. It's crazy. It's a grifter sign, obviously. And then lo and behold, once people start figuring out this guy's a grifter, he has a meltdown And now all the ortho bros are bad. Why? Because we didn't virtue signal on media enough. I kid you not. You got to hear this if you missed it.
When the shooting happened at the Annunciation Church, at the Catholic Church, these guys were freaking silent. All of these Orthodox guys were silent. And that pisses me off. They were silent until they found out that an Orthodox girl got shot. And that's when they started caring.
Just totally made up. He's just completely making up out of thin air bullcrap. And the fake sniffles are the icing on the cake.
They started caring only when they found out that that Orthodox girl got shot. You Orthodox apologists are absolutely freaking disgusting. You're a disgusting.
No, the only reason we're disgusting is that day one, we pegged you as a total fraud and we were right. And now you're having a meltdown just like any feminist TikToker girl that gets called out. They do the exact same thing. They have an emotional, these people are just the worst and it's unbelievable. They didn't capitalize on a tragedy like me on social media, publicly showing how much I pray for everyone.
Human being. You are trash.
Listen to the fake sniffs, dude. The fake sniffs, that is just hilarious to me.
Shot. And that's when they started caring. They started caring only when they found out that that Orthodox girl got shot. You Orthodox apologists are absolutely freaking disgusting. You're a disgusting human being. You are.
Now, this is the guy who helps do all the video stuff for Voice of Sleazing. Where is your moral outrage for what Voice of Sleazing did with all of his plump booty texting of his girls in his catechism? No moral outrage for that. And what does he come up with? This is a recent interview, by the way. This is not months ago when the tragedy event happened. This is a new interview. And this is what this retard comes up with? This is insane. He sounds like feminists on TikTok. This is what feminists on TikTok do when they get caught in giant lies. They do this.
Trash. I'm not. You are a disgusting human being that you only cared about these kids. You didn't care about these kids. You only cared about the person who was Orthodox.
And I will be
when the shooting happened.
Apologies from all the people that called me names, because for the last 2 or 3 years, I've called him out as a fraud. I was right. You were wrong. So I will be accepting your apologies today. Now, that's the same moral blackmail that this guy's doing.
We have a duty to take responsibility for what we say and do. If we hire awful people, we're responsible for that. I have some experience there, as you might suspect.
By the way, this is the same tactic as the left, that anybody that you associate with, anybody you interview, and anyone that you don't publicly denounce, you are therefore toxified by and supporting. This is a leftist tactic. It's so annoying. And all of these people try to do it, even these fake conservatives in the media. And this guy is like the arch fake conservative of all time. This is like the Pope of fake conservatism right here.
That means that if we offer a guest for your viewing, we owe it to you to ask the kinds of questions that actually get at the truth. If we agree with the guest, that's fine, but we should own it.
Okay. What about questions relating to criticism of Israel, Ben? Is that allowed, or is that part of the truth, or is that's all just pure hate and anti-Semit, you know what, even though Arab peoples are also Semitic peoples? So it makes no sense, but it does have to make sense.
So, for example, if you host a Hitler apologist, Nazi-loving, anti-American piece of refuse like Nick Fuentes,
you notice, by the way, none of these people will actually have a debate with any person that they oppose. None of them will actually debate these people. Ben Shapiro has billed himself as this amazing debater, this great debater of our age. Why will Ben Shapiro not debate any person that could be a significant challenge to him. It's all low-hanging fruit. Yeah, roots of heterodoxy, exactly.
You know, the Nick Fuentes who said that the Vice President of the United States is a, quote, fat gay race traitor married to a Jeet. The person who said that Charlie...
Like, reading this stuff out is actually kind of funny, though. Let's hear it.
You know, the Nick Fuentes who said that the Vice President of the United States is a, quote, fat gay race traitor married to a Jeet. The person who said that Charlie Kirk was a, quote, retarded idiot. The person who said, and pardon my language here, it's his quote, that he, quote, took Turning Point USA and f***ed it, and that's why it's filled with groypers. If you have that person on your show and you proceed to glaze him, you ought to own it.
So again, relating to Tucker, these are jabs at Tucker. I don't know if Ben gave the speech first before Tucker or if Tucker was before Ben, but we're going to get to that one in a moment.
There is a reason that Charlie Kirk despised Nick Fuentes, and indeed even chided Dinesh D'Souza for debating him. He knew that Nick Fuentes is an evil troll, and that building him up is an act of moral imbecility. And that is precisely what Tucker Carlson did. He built Nick Fuentes.
I mean, to even be having to address these people's challenges is a sign that these people are worried. Because, you know, Fuentes trolled TPUSA and Ben Shapiro for years, and they just ignored Nick and Nick's critiques and challenges. And that now they're having to address these things, regardless of what we think of Nick or what we think of Candace or what you think of Tucker, that they're having to give these speeches addressing this, and it's all just piety signaling and moral blackmail is itself a sign, I think, of panic.
And he ought to take responsibility for that, just as he ought to take...
Again, and the reason is that because Netanyahu said they're fighting an 8-9 front war, and Twitter is the battleground, the internet's the battleground. That's why my feed in the For You is all evangelical Zio slop, because it's being paid for, and all of these idiot shills who are all a bunch of heretics, like Mike Swinger. Look at Mike Swinger. Ben Shapiro was right. This is the same guy who has thrice turned down, or 2 or 3 times turned down a debate. I've offered 2 or 3 times to debate him. No, he will not. And he is just the same as all of the other evangelical fraud slop people that make up the entirety of the For You. All of my For You is just that stuff, nonstop. So it's basically useless. I cannot even look at the For You because it is all of this propaganda. And you guys remember, what was it, a few weeks ago, I offered all of these evangelical Zionist pastors. I went one by one DMing them publicly and privately, asking them to debate. Christian Prince is proud of you. Of what? Christian Prince is another lunatic, idiot cult leader. Didn't even know who Athanasius was. So none of the evangelical Zio pastors would even come to debate. They're not able to debate. It's all paid for propaganda.
Responsibility for glazing pornographer and alleged sex trafficker Andrew Tate, or for mainstreaming fake historian and pseudo-Nazi apologist Daryl Cooper as America's best and most honest popular historian. Hosts are indeed responsible for the guests they choose and the...
Now, I don't agree with the support of the Tate stuff, so I would agree with Ben Shapiro on this point. However, to again say that everyone's positions are bad because they associate with or have interviewed this or that person is a leftist, dirty, slimy tactic. Guess what? This is media. Everyone in media interacts with and goes on the shows of all the other media people, and to try to turn that into a, you must denounce these people or else you are morally complicit And it's just a slimy, ridiculous expectation in media for, and when I went on Lord Voldemort's show, we had a media person do this to me who was somewhat prominent, who were friends of ours. And this person said, "You are trash if you dare go on a Lord Voldemort show." And I'm like, it's media. That'd be like if you were a band saying, "We hate Metallica, and so if you open for Metallica, you're evil and you're trash." Okay, well, it's media. Like, it's a job, dude. That's how media works. You get offered spots and jobs by going on shows. And to turn that into some gay weaponized thing, like, if you go on this person's show, I won't like you anymore. This isn't high school. It's the adult world.
Questions they ask those guests. Fourth, because we have a duty to truth, we also have a duty to provide you with evidence of the claims that we make. Emotive accusations, conspiracy theories, and just guessing questions, that's lazy and stupid and misleading.
Well, it may be lazy. It is not necessarily lazy. So again, this is all trading on ambiguities. It could be. I mean, if Candace runs with something without sufficient evidence, that could be lazy and that could be hasty. But the blanket thing of like anyone doing this, in other words, if you dare doubt America's pro-Israeli foreign policy, you are therefore part of Qatar. You are therefore part of, I mean, people were questioning this before anybody even knew about some Qatar lobby. This has existed for decades. This exists all the way back to Father Coughlin, the Roman Catholic priest, to Charles Lindbergh. Those were the original America First people. So this idea that this is all some recent Qatari, this is retarded. There were leftists who got fired and were run out of media, like what was that Arab woman? What was her name? Helen Thomas or whatever. She was fired and run out of mainstream media for questioning Israel. The CNN guy, what was his name? Rick Sanchez. Mel Gibson, run out of Hollywood for criticizing media and other issues, right? So this idea that, oh, the Qataris are, no, people are figuring out that America doesn't want to support and fight Israel's wars, and it's a double standard, and we don't benefit from it. And they use sexpionage and compromise our leaders and our people via Epstein, and everybody knows it now. And then they say you should take all the Muslims. No, this is just ridiculous hypocrisy. And people have figured that out now. You can't stop people from waking up to that. And nobody cares about being called racist anymore. No one cares. They don't. People don't give an F anymore.
None of them are a substitute for truth. None of them are a substitute for evidence. So, when Candace Owens says, "I don't know, but I know," that is retarded. And we are all more retarded for having heard it.
Well, I would imagine that we could probably find all kinds of things that Ben Shapiro has theories on that he doesn't know. So, I mean, was there a conspiracy on the part of Tiny Mustache Man to eradicate Israeli people or your people group, Ben? Was that a conspiracy, or is that, I mean, like, where's the line between real conspiracies and retarded conspiracies? Because if you remember, Ben supported all the establishment positions until it became unpopular post-Koof, and then flipped and was critical of that. Just like he was a never Trumper, and then flips. Ends up, oh no, yeah, I'm MAGA, we're MAGA. You're not MAGA. No, I don't even care about MAGA. But I'm just saying, like, all these people flip-flop and then act like they were always the face of conservatism. No, you were a neocon libertarian, and you've never debated anybody above a 20 IQ, purple-haired college freak.
When Steve Bannon, for example, accuses his foreign policy opponents of loyalty to a foreign country, he's not actually making an argument based in evidence. He's simply maligning people that he disagrees with, which is indeed par for the course from a...
Oh, now Bannon's bad. Uh-oh. Who's been this pro-Israeli person for all this time, and now he's beginning to budge away from unfettering support of Israel. And so now Shapiro has to see, they wouldn't even be calling all this out if they weren't freaking out and realizing that people are tired of the double standard and nobody wants to just fight wars for Israel.
Man who was once a PR flack for Jeffrey Epstein. Check the record.
Okay, but Ben, who was Jeffrey Epstein compromising people for, according to some of the Israeli heads of intelligence? Oh, Israel.
Our duty to provide you evidence means we actually have to do much more than just ask questions. Just asking questions is something my 5-year-old does, and it's really cute when it comes from my 5-year-old. But when grown men and women spend their days just asking questions without, seeking answers, they are lying to you. In fact, they're doing something...
First of all, everybody who asks these questions, for the most part, is seeking answers. So I don't know where he gets this idea that they're not actually seeking answers, they're just asking questions. Well, even by your own line of argumentation, if they're bad faith in asking the questions, they're implying what the answers are. So that's not even true according to your critique.
Even worse, they are seeding distrust in the world around you, and they are enervating you in the process. So, for example, if many speakers, including Tucker Carlson and others, get on stage here at TPUSA and claim, without proper evidence, that Jeffrey Epstein was running a Mossad rape ring being covered up by the Trump administration, they are not actually uncovering a conspiracy or effectuating a solution.
What about all of the meetings with Ehud Barak at Jeffrey Epstein's place? What about Whitney Webb's Volume 2, which covers all of this? What about the Israeli intelligence heads that say that it was all about that? So it's almost like all the evidence points in that direction. He knows that there's evidence for that. But if you talk about that, you're just a malicious, bad faith person who doesn't really care about the answers. No, people are not buying your bull crap anymore, dude. How many times did Jeffrey and Ehud Barak meet? 36. But according to Ben Shapiro, that is irrelevant. Doesn't matter, means nothing. According to Ben Shapiro, there is no sexual compromise. That doesn't exist. It's not a thing. It's all made up. Everybody's a conspiracy theorist who questions known liars. Imagine pushing the normie slop narrative in 2025.
They are claiming a special provenance to information they won't let you see, which builds their power and leaves you with none. They are also implicating...
All of this information is public. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, information that they won't let you see. Like, what are you even talking about? I mean... Is this hidden information that nobody wants to let you see? Let's see if we can find that clip with
point head up military intelligence. At some point, head up military intelligence in Israel, and he apparently was very friendly with Epstein, and yeah, he probably would have known about it.
The problem, Ari, with your accusations and allegations are that you're not providing any evidence that Israel was part of running Jeffrey Epstein.
Well, again, Maxwell was working for Israel. Epstein was working for Maxwell at the time, and he was introduced to Maxwell's daughter, and they were introduced to Israeli intelligence.
Duh. Like, this is not hard to figure out, and all of this is in the open.
In their speculation, actual human beings, good human beings, like Kash Patel and Dan Bongino and Pam Bondi.
Oh, okay, yeah. All the good human beings that support everybody being interchangeable economic units, right? A la Sam Hyde Show episodes 1 and 2.
And yes, the President of the United States, even if they're too cowardly to say President Trump's name. And that means you won't trust those good people in the future. You haven't gotten smarter, you've just been manipulated. When forced to demonstrate their evidence, these same people will often refuse to provide it. They'll claim ignorance. They'll pretend they're outside the system. And they don't have access to actual information. You know, they're just asking questions.
I mean, I just gave you Ari Ben Menashe, and he detailed the history of Robert Maxwell as a known Mossad operative. So, I mean, that doesn't matter. That's all made up. That's not evidence.
But many of these same people have direct pipelines to informational sources. So, for example, if Tucker wants answers to his questions about, say, Jeffrey Epstein, he could call the Vice President of the United States. He's quite close with him. But he won't, because that might undermine the empty speculation. None of this means...
Why would calling J.D. Vance do anything about the Epstein information? That would assume that J.D. Vance... We don't even know that J.D. Vance has seen this material. Like, what? I don't understand that logic.
There aren't actual real conspiracies in the world. Of course there are.
Oh, really? Like what?
But actual conspiracies require actual evidence.
Well, I agree with that, but the idea that there is no evidence around Epstein is absurd, especially if you read Volume 2 of Whitney Webb's book.
Yes, there was a Russiagate conspiracy, and we know the names of the people involved and what they did. We know...
Oh, okay. So the only things that's allowed to be a conspiracy are the things that Ben Shapiro has approved years late after the fact, after everybody else already figured out it was a conspiracy.
Hillary Clinton and Fusion GPS and James Comey and Loretta Lynch and Adam Schiff. We know all of those people. Yes, there was a COVID-19 conspiracy. We know...
Oh, you mean when you pushed all the normie stabby narrative? That one? And then you flipped after everybody figured out it was fake and gay, and you suddenly became, oh yes, champion of... These people are so fake, dude.
That Anthony Fauci worked to shut down alternative solutions from people like Jay Bhattacharya. But when people posit a conspiracy and then provide you no evidence, they are doing you a fundamental disservice, and they are making you stupider in the process. Finally, because it is our job to make the lives of our audience better, right? That's really our job, is to give you more information to make your lives better. We have a duty to propose solutions. That's why we have to talk about our problems in order to find the solutions. That's what politics was supposed to be about, after all. Finding...
This was what he said. I heard the clip today on Lord Voldemort because I did the 4th hour, and he mentioned that Alex and the conspiracy people never have solutions. That's absolutely insane. Alex is the one who, especially 2016-17, with the biggest audience out there, actually helped get... He was sort of the spearhead of Trump getting elected. So this idea that Alex didn't take action, even if you dislike Trump, I'm just pointing out that Ben Shapiro's claim against Alex is absurd. It's just patently false. That Alex isn't a black pill person. I'm more black pilled than Alex is, and I'm not totally black pilled. I'm just saying I'm more black pilled than Alex is. But that Alex Jones and conspiracy people in his audience are black pilled is retarded. That's just not even true. I mean, Alex was like at the forefront of getting Trump elected.
Solutions to our common problems. If we speak endlessly
And this guy was a never Trumper. So what do you mean?
about the problems we face, without ever positing a solution other than wrecking the system or centralizing power in a cult-like figure, we are not finding solutions. We are merely making problems worse. Just asking questions, positing vague conspiracies, raving like Alex Jones about the secret confederacies that control your life, none of it makes your life better. None of it.
Well, if the conspiracies are about Israeli control of our foreign policy, etc., then that might be a threat to what Ben represents. So that might be an issue. That might be why Ben doesn't want you to talk about those types of conspiracies.
In fact, it makes your life markedly worse. That's because if you truly come to believe that nothing in your life is in your control, you can't even take control of your own life. You despair of your ability to change your own circumstances, and then you fail. And you must not fail.
This part is actually true. Not that I agree with what he said about Alex, because Alex doesn't say that you don't control anything in your life. Alex says the opposite of it. So this was Ben Shapiro being very just totally slimy and dishonest with what Alex Jones's positions are.
Because here is the most fundamental.
Look at all these idiot boomers in his audience. That's his audience, is these boomers. Look at these people, like no clue at all, like how the world works, what's happening. Just blue boomers, sad blue boomers in the audience cheering on their fake con Inc. mouthpiece.
The truth of all in the United States, for all of its problems, many of which a huge.
And by the way, this is the guy who just hired Matt Fradd, the Cath Inc. faker.
Number of which are real and serious. The United States is still the greatest country in the history of planet Earth.
Yeah, but that has nothing to do with Zionism and Israel first and all of your fake conservative gibberish. That's actually funny. Yeah, like the blue-pilled boomers in the audience are portrayed in the color blue. That's actually pretty funny.
We have the greatest constitution ever devised by man. We have the greatest founding philosophy ever put to paper in the Declaration of Independence. In this country, you can make of yourself what you will. And if there are true obstacles standing in your way, we can all work together to remove them. That, by the way, is the essence of conservatism, that we live in a world created by God with a logic and a rationale, that we as human beings were created in God's image, as it says in the book of Genesis, with creative capacity and the power to choose, and that in a free country of limited government and defined powers, with property rights and equality under law, our destiny is in our hands, and that we all.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure that in Talmudic law, that's not the print. There is no equality under Talmudic law. So I'm not sure what, I mean, does Ben Shapiro have a dual ethic, an ethic for public face and then an ethic that's a private ethic? Interesting.
Have a duty to make the most of that historic opportunity. Anyone who tries to convince you otherwise is lying to you, and they are making your life worse in the process. Now, that lie may feel good in the moment. It may.
All right, I've had enough of this. We're going to stop there. We've done most of it. Let's move over here to the rage bait of Tucker's talk. And, you know, I mostly disagree with Ben Shapiro. He did make a couple points that I agreed with. One point towards the end, that you shouldn't be blackpilled and think that your life doesn't matter and that, oh, everything's a conspiracy. That's retarded. But that's a far cry from questioning AIPAC and Israeli, control of foreign policy. Now, this whole nonsense that Tucker is a Qatari operative, this is stupid, and I'm going to say why. Because 1789 Capital is this guy, Omid Malik, Christopher Buzzkirk, and Don Trump Jr. Rebecca Mercer. So you've got Jews over here, right? Jordan Cohen involved in 17. But the dum-dums out there that have this nonsense narrative that Tucker is a Qatari operative would have you believe that the Mercers and Jordan Cohen and Don Trump Jr. are all working for Qatar to fund Tucker to oppose Israel, which is retarded. And so it's just a made up narrative. It's just a venture capital thing in New Jersey. It's not in Qatar. And the guy is not even, they call him Pakistani. He's not Pakistani. He's Iranian American.
Yeah, this is hilarious. Actually, one of the clips I was listening to myself, thinking as I often do when I hear myself speak, which is never, because I never watch myself, but at these events they always play like the role of you. And I'm like, that guy is pompous. Woo! Sorry about that. We don't see ourselves clearly. But the prediction that, at some point when Republicans took power again, which I did everything I could, to help, and really felt that was important. I still think, I was right. But I really thought that the impulse to deplatform people, or even to use the word platform as a verb, which it's not, it's a noun, don't steal my nouns, deplatform and denounce. Why haven't you denounced somebody else? The whole Red Guard cultural revolution thing that we so hated and feared on the left.
Exactly what I said. I've not seen Tucker's speech. This is exactly what I said. Denounce this person, I will morally blackmail you.
That we did
literal roots of grifting, roots of heterodoxy tactics. This is what fake narcissistic creeps rely on, just like the feminists on TikTok. Ben Shapiro doing the exact same thing as the feminists, doing the exact same thing as roots of heterodoxy. Do you see the pattern? I'm going to morally blackmail you because you associate with so-and-so, denounce them or else you are evil. It's a leftist tactic. It's dumb. It's low IQ. It's lazy. That's the real tactic of leftism that most of the fake conservatives who are just actually leftists. That's it.
We could to usher in a new time where you could have an actual debate. I mean, this kind of was the whole point of Charlie Kirk's public life. And I think that he died for it. I really believe that. And I know a lot about it because the last several months of Charlie's life were devoted in part to arguing about this event, in fact, this speech, in fact, my speech here, which he asked me to do earlier this year, this summer, and was immediately put under just immense pressure from people who give money to Turning Point, I would assume good people, but who wanted him to take me off the roster. And this has all become public, and the whole thing is so sad that I never talk about it, except to say Charlie stood firm in his often stated and deeply held belief that people should be able to debate, and that if you have something valid to say, if you're telling the truth, you ought to be able to explain it calmly and in detail to people who don't agree with you, and that you shouldn't immediately resort.
Could you imagine if they let me onto some stage or platform this big and I could debate? Could you imagine how insane that would be? I would never, ever be asked or invited to any of these types of things because the narrative is a circle and it's controlled as to what you're allowed to speak about. Now, I'm not saying that Tucker's bad. Tucker and others are breaking that narrative, that boomer mind matrix control. But I'm a level beyond Tucker. I'm a phase beyond that of, no, I don't care about classical liberal values at all. In fact, I critique them. I've been critiquing them all the way back to when Jordan Peterson was pushing classical liberalism on everybody 10 years ago. And I critiqued Jordan Peterson. And the entirety of the comments, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them, was against me for critiquing Jordan. How dare you critique Jordan Peterson? Well, guess who was right 10 years later? I was, not Jordan Peterson. my critique of classical liberalism was correct. That position is becoming more and more normative. I'm the next phase beyond this stuff. I'm not dissing Tucker. I'm saying like the people, the normies aren't ready for the stuff that we talk about. They're not ready to talk Orthodox monarchy yet. And that's probably a century or two away. But could you imagine if Ben Shapiro actually did agree to debate me? Like, dude, come on. Come on.
Shut up, racist. You shouldn't immediately go to motive. By the way, shut up, racist is the #1 reason I voted for Donald Trump. And because it just
nobody cares about being called racist anymore. And that's now that the boomer mind matrix has been broken. Now we can really start to change things and have real debates.
I mean, first of all,
as by the way, all the other races are racist, and as the third world is in mass brought to the first world.
As a racist, if I was a bigot, I would just say so. Okay, it's America. You're allowed to be whatever kind of person you want. I'm not.
On what basis, according to all of the normies? This is where the debate needs to go. This is where a pre-supper like myself would take the debate. The next time people start telling you, you're racist, okay, give to me the moral justification for why it is wrong to be racist. Give the moral structure and framework and argument as to why racism is bad. Maybe it is. But if you are a classical liberal, a classical shit lib, anything goes. There is nothing wrong if shit liberalism is true.
I'm sincerely opposed, have always been, and will always be. But the style of debate where you prevent the other side from talking or being heard because you immediately go to motive, well, I wonder why you're asking that question.
Exactly. What did I say? I've not seen this speech yet. That's the exact thing that I said at the beginning. You can't debate or disprove motives. It's an impossible thing to debate or disprove. It's exactly what I said.
I wonder why. Why are you asking that question? I detect in the question a certain evil in your soul.
Yeah, exactly what Ben Shapiro said.
And everyone listening should know that listening to you implicates them. And that they someday may be asked to denounce you. And that friendship is not a reason to defend someone. Love is no defense. I kind of thought we'd reached the end of that. And as far as I'm concerned, we have. And I'm not going to play by those rules.
No, again, Ben Shapiro represents Con Inc. and the libertarian controlled narrative of the right. The right must always be kept in bounds with classical liberalism because there is no threat from classical liberalism. Classical liberalism always allows for the fake left to gain ground. And the liberal conservatives are always on the defensive. They can never make any progress because they're battered over the head with you're a bad person if you talk about identity or identity politics. Even when I'm pretty sure that male and female are identities. I'm pretty sure that white dude and black dude are identities. So there are identities. There is no such thing as classical liberal interchangeable economic units philosophy. And that's why they had to stamp out and destroy the dissident right 10 years ago, which they pretty much successfully did. And now that it's making a kind of a return, they got to stamp it out again because it's got to go back to the Ben Shapiro, classical liberal, Daily Wire, fake conservatism. It's that simple. That's why things don't change. The Johan Ratu book detailed this in the UK. The reason that the UK never got anywhere was because they had a fake controlled right wing, the Tories.
I'm not going to engage in that.
I mean, it's very simple. They can flood your country, and if you don't like it, you're racist. And everybody's terrified of being called racist by people who don't have any view of morals at all. There's no such thing as right and wrong, but it's wrong to be racist. Okay, why? Explain that. Give a justification for that. Well, they can't.
Like what I think, fine with me, as long as I get to express it. That's my view. But since we're on the topic, I think I should take the opportunity to explain why Charlie was under all this pressure, and I think Erica, who I just saw backstage, and whom I love, and who I can tell you is totally committed to continuing the core principle of Charlie's public life, which is the right of every person to express what he believes. That is rooted in Christian faith. We believe people should be able to say what they think because they have souls. They're human beings created by God. They are not slaves. They are not animals. They are not objects. You cannot tell another human being to shut up, even shut up racist, because you don't own him. He is an independent, autonomous person created by God as an individual. Okay, so that's where...
Well, that's partly true, but that's not the essence of what a person is. They're not merely individuals. They also have real metaphysical collective identities that link them to their family, to their tribe, to their heritage, to their tradition, to their nation state. Those are all real metaphysical relations that identify and pick out who a person is. And to act like, as the debate has always been couched for the last 50, 60 years, you're either a collectivist liberal or a conservative libertarian individualist is a fake and gay dialectic, and that is breaking. That's the next thing to break. And I think that they're terrified that will be the next thing to break. If the classical liberal libertarian boomer mind matrix falls, or maybe you could argue that's more of a Gen X mind matrix thing, when that falls, it's over. All this gibberish, all this nonsense, all the gay crap, the trans crap, it's all gone. Because that leads to questioning rights. Wait a minute. Do I have a right to blaspheme? Do I have a right to do public displays of art that are blasphemous? Do I have a right to end life in my womb? Do I have wait a minute, what is a right? Where does that come from? It's just arbitrary. And for most, especially like the Reddit tier atheist shit libs, it's given by the state. Okay, well, the state can take it away. It's not a real thing then.
Where free speech comes from. And there's no accident. This is the only country in the world that protects it, because our founding documents were informed, as you just heard so nicely expressed by Michael Knowles, my friend, by people who self-consciously incorporated Christian precepts into their...
And this is why of all of the face lords, Tucker is the closest to our sphere in the Orthodox domain. And he's right about this notion of having freedom and volition because we're made in the image of God. If we're not made in the image of God, we lose those fundamental metaphysical categories of freedom, free choice, etc. However, if Christianity is true, guess what? Historic Christianity and the Church of Christianity also have a doctrine of church-state relations. And that doctrine requires that eventually the state make Christian laws. That's what the Orthodox Imperium always did. That's what Christian nations have done, especially Orthodox Christian nations that went to war and fought against Muslims, like Serbia, like Byzantium, the empire, like Russia, when it was Christian, Orthodox, explicitly. That's where this leads. And the partisans of Enlightenment liberalism will lose their power and their mindset, their boomer mind matrix, if ever Christians and people begin to figure that out.
Of government. So Charlie was committed to that, but the people around him were like, you can't, because it's not that Carlson's wrong, My only point was I don't want a land war with Iran. I got over my skis and said I didn't want another regime change war with Iran. Rather than explain why we should have a regime change war with Iran, which I'd be happy to listen to, he's an anti-Semite. He's an anti-Semite. To which I said, well, obviously that's not true. And Charlie said, I know. And then it just didn't stop. So I continued to say, I'm not an anti-Semite. We don't care what you say. You're lying. You are. So let me just affirm one final time. Not only am I not an anti-Semite, and would say so if I was, I'm not an anti-Semite for a very specific reason. Not because it's unpopular or my donors don't like it. I don't have any donors. I'm not an anti-Semite because anti-Semitism is immoral. In my religion, it is immoral to hate people for how they were born. Period. But that is not a limited principle. That is a universal principle. It applies to every human being.
Now, understand that Christian ethics, like Tucker is saying, does not allow you to hate people in some, rabid, ferocious way. We love people and we want the best for people, but we also believe that what is best for people is Christ. And that immediately puts you into conflict, especially with people like rabbinic Jews or with Muslims, who both of which follow a Talmudic ethic that is not based around loving people. I don't know if you know that, but neither of them have that ethic. They have an ethic of hatred of those that are kafir, idolaters, or those that are Amalek or Edom, right? And let's understand from the famous operative Victor Ostrovsky himself, the power in this term, in this weaponized term.
Now, I know what they do because I used to ask them to do it. I mean, when I was in the Mossad, and we had a guy that gave us problems in the U.S., and he was speaking out, and he was talking like Pete talked once and said, Israel is bombing Lebanon with cluster bombs. We say, hey, who's that guy? Pete Makaki, we used to call him. Yeah, which is Pete the cockroach. Because he makes a lot of noise and you can't get rid of him. So what you do is you get in touch with a guy in the station in New York or in the station in Washington. You say, tell the guys at B'nai B'rith to label him. And of course the campaign starts, and before you know it, the guy's labeled. And he's an anti-Semite. Because that's what we say he is. And that's one stain you cannot wash. Now, it shames me as a Jew to tell you that. But
so there's Victor Ostrovsky, the famous former operative, telling you that the term is weaponized to control people.
On planet Earth. You may not, you are prohibited by my religion, which is Christianity, from hating people for how they were born. Because God created them with his spark in his image. Because they have souls. You can disagree with them. You can hate their ideas.
But people need to understand, especially in the Christian, so-called pseudo-Christian West, that the other systems don't have this ethic. Muslims do not have this ethic. Rabbinic ethics is not this ethic. Those systems have dual ethics, meaning one ethic for those outside and a separate ethic for those on the inside. They don't have a universal treat everybody the same and treat them all fairly ethic. And if you expect, because Ben Shapiro puts on a nice face and this kind of stuff, that they will, you're being naive. I'm not saying Tucker's naive. I'm saying that that needs to be what these people need to understand next.
Even find yourself, and I do, I'll confess it, hating them for a moment. But you can't hate everyone who's like them. You can't punish people for crimes they didn't commit. That's the basis of our justice system. That's the basis of Christian ethics. That's why we have what are called...
By the way, I'm not arguing for Christian nationalism. There is no possible Christian government that Doug Wilson and 1,000 other retarded sects are going to be able to come up with that's somehow lowest common denominator Christian. The only Christian government possible is an Orthodox Christian nation state when the majority of the people become Christians. I know y'all are stupid, a lot of you out there, because when I say this, I have to give the same speech and explanation 1,000 times over. That is not coming anytime soon. That is coming in generations down the road when the majority of the people become Orthodox. I'm not saying,
He talked about Christian nationalism. What's he talking about with Tucker?
No, I'm talking about 200-300 years in the future when that's a real viable political option. It's not a viable political option when Orthodox Christianity is a minority, obviously. And politics isn't first. To put politics first is just another idolatry.
Human rights. They apply to every human, not just your group, not just my group, but every group, every human, because we don't...
Not talking about my audience. I'm talking about the people that come and ask me the same questions.
Are you a Christian nationalist? What's your problem with Christian nationalism?
I'm not talking about my audience is super high IQ. So
he says he hates his audience.
No, I don't. I'm talking about the dummies that are new here that ask me the same question all the time.
Consider people in terms of the groups to which they belong. We consider them as individuals the way that God created them. So anti-Semitism is not just naughty, it's immoral. And it is precisely as immoral as hating any other group. And that would include other groups in the United States that are hated and have been under attack for decades. And that would include white men who did nothing to become white men. They were born that way. And just because you...
Woo, he went full Gaga. He went full Lady Gaga. Said, I was born this way. Woo! Woo! Okay. I'm getting rid of this retard. You're done. Get out of here.
That's the fact.
Beef with a white man, let's just say Donald Trump, doesn't mean you get to punish all the rest of the white men in the country. And yet, our leaders, not just of our Congress.
Yeah, but rabbinic philosophy also is against these people, Tucker. Are you aware of that phase of the progression down the rabbit hole yet? I mean, rabbinic philosophy, as Netanyahu said the other day, believes that Christianity is Edom. It is the enemy, and it must eventually be destroyed.
Executive branch under Biden, but of every major U.S. corporation, of every college in the country, probably except Hillsdale and 2 others, every single one for more than 10 years has engaged in a systematic effort to hurt white men because they are white men. That is racism that is precisely as bad as anti-Semitism, but it is much more widespread and
yeah, but again, people need to figure out, like, and I think many people are figuring this out, like all the other cultures and races, they don't care about this. They're not concerned with proving to everyone else how not racist they are. Take Asians. All of the Asians dislike all the other Asians and constantly make fun of all the other Asians. The same with Latinos. Mexicans will diss and make fun of the Puerto Ricans, and they'll diss and make fun of the Venezuelans. So it just doesn't make...
And so far, much more damaging. And my point is, if you said nothing about that, or if you encouraged it by, say, cheering on BLM, which was an anti-white hate group, and said so, then you have no moral standing to lecture me about bias. Period. Because all bias is the same. You are not allowed to hate people based on their bloodline. We do not believe in blood guilt. We reject blood guilt. That's why our justice system is just. That's why our religion is just.
But remember, the other cultures and civilizations do not have this same ethic, as I've been pointing out forever, for years. I've been making this argument since I was awakened to these issues in 2006 and 7.
Person has the possibility of transformation. Paul is wandering around, Saul of Tarsus is wandering around murdering Christians. Then he decides, well, I'll walk to Syria, and he's met on the road by Jesus, who changes him, and in one day he becomes the most energetic church planter and apostle of Christianity. In one day. He went from enemy to leader in one day. And that possibility exists for every human being, every human being. That's what our Christian faith tells us. That's also what our eyes tell us. There are no permanent enemies. There cannot be. And I would extend this to even people who attack me from this stage.
Well, again, I think as Tucker gets more educated in Christianity and Christian history, he'll realize and learn, no, there are actual perpetual enemies. That's not true. I mean, the New Testament in many places talks about enemies of the cross, so that's not true.
They'll say, if we agree on something, I'm happy to be friends with you. You may have been mean to me one day, well, I was mean to you too, that's all right. There is always the possibility that we can recognize we have more in common than divides us and come back together.
Yeah, but the problem is that that reconciliation, according to Galatians 3, only occurs in the Orthodox Church. It doesn't really occur outside of Orthodoxy. Now, there can be instances of people being reconciled, but the reconciliation that Paul's talking about, and Tucker is referencing Paul here, is not a camaraderie that everybody just accepts in some social convention. No, it's a Orthodox Christian acceptance of we are all one in Christ, whether Jew, whether Gentile, whether slave, whether free, whether male nor female. Now, the woke lib misinterpretation of that passage, as I saw somebody on a comment on one of my videos the other day saying, oh, Jesus comes and wipes out your identity. Are you serious? So you think Jesus is a savior who makes us all trans or non-binary? I'm being serious. Because if Jesus gets rid of my identity and my heritage and my tradition, then I'm also losing my gender, because Paul says neither male nor female. The passage doesn't mean he erases those things, you idiot. You idiot. People are so stupid. It's kind of mind-blowing, actually. All he means is that in terms of salvation, it doesn't matter whether you're male or female or Jew or Greek. Everyone is saved and can be saved. It doesn't erase your history. If it erased the history, we wouldn't include people's color in the icons. Everybody would be, the saints would be all gray. Well, Moses the Black is a black dude. And it's so weird to even have to explain and debate this when nobody even questioned this until after the 1960s. Like, the entire world believed that Chinese people are Chinese people. Black people are black people. The saints of the church are the saints that they were raised, that their time and place in history is part of their story. It's Gnostic to erase that and to have Chinese Jesus or everybody loses their... No, it says in Revelation, in the resurrection, it's members of every tribe, tongue, and nation worshiping the Lamb. Well, that means they retain their racial identity and heritage. It's not erased. We don't become gray goo beings in the eschaton. That's all just Gnostic.
There are no permanent enemies. There is no such thing as blood guilt and collective punishment in this country, in the Middle East, any...
That's true. And Tucker's correct. But remember, that is not the ethic of Muslims and Jews. They have a different ethic. And even other pagan groups believe in blood guilt and collective guilt.
The planet is totally immoral. And if you want to know what makes America exceptional, it's that idea. And it's our job to defend it.
Well, this Christmas, give the gift of sleep with 8.
Been one of the most aggressive cheerleaders for hate against white men in the United States. now trying to lecture the rest of us about hate, I would say it's enough to point out the irony. Who said anything about it? Many organizations now, and particularly this applies to the Anti-Defamation League, which has cheered on anti-white hatred for decades, has attacked anyone who said anything about it, which has been one of the most aggressive cheerleaders for hate against white men in the United States, now trying to lecture the rest of us about hate, I would say it's enough to point out the irony of that. Come destroy this country, certainly. The only thing that will save it is...
Now, the Zioslop commentators on X, by the way, their comments, I kid you not, they were saying Tucker was a screaming, rambling, incoherent mess. Brandon Tatum, Tucker preaches anti-Christianity. What? Now, we haven't finished the talk yet, but where has any of that? I mean, he's literally so far just said Christian ethics is an ethics of love that binds people to not hating people and not having vengeance and vendettas and blood guilt, etc. So far, it's just basic Christian ethics. Now, maybe he's going to say something erroneous. I don't know. But, I mean, these phonies on X, everywhere on X, are literally just losing their mind.
If my brother went on a drug-related murder spree, I would not denounce him. What? Are you for drug-related murder sprees? No, I'm for my brother. And nothing will ever make me not for my brother.
Now, look at the Zio commentators clipping that out, that Tucker says, my familial bonds are such that even if my brother becomes a murderer, I'm still going to love my brother, right? That's the point he's making. Obviously, he's not saying that I support my brother being on a murder spree. And look at the phony balonies here calling this out. Excuse me? What is the Zio rabbinic policy about protecting criminals in those organizations? There's nothing anti-Christian about what he just said. That's ridiculous. So these people are actually unhinged and insane.
The understanding that principles upon which America was founded apply to every single human being always. So I just want to say that. By way of saying that I'm not just situationally opposed to anti-Semitism, I'm actually opposed to anti-Semitism.
So all of this, by the way, like, they don't care. Like, you can say all day long that you don't care. That I do not have the racist ethic of the Talmud, and I do not have a double ethic, and I love all. They don't care, man. People don't care about you constantly decrying that. All they care about is, do you worship the nation state of Israel or not?
And I hope that the ADL will join me. I'll send them money, by the way, if they come out against hate aimed at anyone and everyone. Hope they will. But let me just say something more broadly about where the conservative movement, whatever that is, the people who voted for Trump, the Trump coalition, and the supposed civil war going.
There is no conservative movement in America, and that's what we have to realize. I met with some people from Russia who have a channel that's pretty large, historian, a sort of the Pajot of Russia. And we had a long conversation. They came to our event at our church, and he had the argument that there really isn't a conservative movement in America because America is built on liberalism. Exactly. Thank you. That's exactly what I've been saying for at least the last 10 years online, but more than that, because I learned this by reading critiques of classical liberalism 20 years ago. When I was a traditional Catholic, I started reading critiques of classical liberalism and reading pro-monarchist, pro-traditionalist works. And ever since then, I have essentially been a critic of classical liberalism. Now, it doesn't mean that I disagree with everything, because there's parts of classical liberal philosophy that retain Christian ethos, Christian elements. So it's not all false. But negative liberties, you know, the idea that the state has no role except to foster trade. I mean, none of that is realistic. None of that's historical. None of that makes any sense. It's all just platitudes that fake conservatives still push out to normie audiences that still eat it up. They just eat at the slop trough of normie bullshit, which, I mean, I wish I could convey how frustrating it is, for example, to have critiqued Jordan Peterson on this point 10 years ago, and to have the comments just ratio me into oblivion. The original number of thumbs down on that video was like, it was like 700 to 100, right? 100 up, like 700 down. Everything I said in that video is 100% spot on. But all of the comments were cult of personality, unquestioning support of Jordan Peterson without even considering any of the arguments I made. 10 years later, the tables have turned. Everything has flipped. Now that they don't have the censorship lockdown that they had 10 years ago, people can speak more freely. I mean, there's still a lot of censorship, but people are speaking more freely. My video critiquing Jordan Peterson, what I just said, it's like 8 years ago, okay? Almost 10 years ago, whatever. What video? The one critiquing Jordan Peterson from almost a decade ago. Now it's flipped. Now I was right about what I said. And we still have a small audience here. I don't know. Is it just because we don't have millions of dollars of, I mean, what is with people who just can't understand arguments and they only follow like flashy teleprompter presentations? Like, I don't get it. Like, can none of these people understand arguments? I guess not, because most of these people are in like evangelical jellyfish slop churches. They're totally oblivious, just totally out to lunch. And so Tucker isn't even saying radical things. Tucker is saying like very middle of the road stuff. And these people are losing their minds. It's crazy.
On within that group. I don't think it's real. I think it's fake. I think it's totally fake. I don't think, and I've had cause to think a lot about this because I've been unwittingly involved in the proxy war. There are two things going on here, and I'm not guessing. One is jockeying for position post-Trump. So Trump created this amazing coalition, bringing in people who had never voted Republican before but were very enthusiastic about him. And that coalition took over the most powerful government in the history of the world. So there's a lot at stake here. And so the question becomes, who gets to run it after? Who gets the machinery when the president exits the scene? And there are a lot of people in Washington, maybe even in this room, who aren't quite sure what they want, but they know they don't want J.D. Vance. Okay? And so the attack, and you heard it from the stage tonight, there's someone here who's a very bad man, and he's friends with J.D. Vance. Could be me. I'm sad about being used in a proxy war over politics in which I'm not involved in any level. I'm not an advisor to anybody. But I just think I should say that out loud, okay? There are people who are mad at J.D. Vance, and they're stirring up a lot of this in order to make sure he doesn't get the nomination. So this is true. So this raises the...
I don't follow J.D. Vance, or like I don't even know what is the controversy there. Like, what do the people not like about him? Is it just that J.D. Vance isn't Zio enough? I mean, like, what is the critique of that? Somebody who follows all this political stuff in the audience here, can you enlighten me to what I thought J.D. Vance was pretty much pro-Israel. Is he beginning to fudge a little bit? Is that what the concern is? Because these people freak out. If you don't worship Israel, these people just freak out. They lose their mind. I'm aware of the Palantir collection or connection. What I'm asking is, what is Tucker talking about that there are people at this event that don't like JD Vance? I know about the Peter Thiel stuff. I'm asking, is that what Tucker is talking about, or what is he talking about?
The question was just, why are they mad at JD Vance? Such a nice guy, which he is. They're mad at JD Vance because he is the one person, and things could change, of course, but right now, who really kind of buys the core idea of the Trump coalition. Now, what is that idea? Ladies and gentlemen, anyone know? Anyone know? America first. It's America first. It's really simple. Which I notice some people are pretty anxious to retire that phrase. Remember when they told us? That's a bigoted phrase. Really? It is. And then they just decided to ignore it in favor of MAGA, Make America Great Again, which I'm obviously for. But how do you make America great again? By putting America first. Now, what does that mean? I'll be more precise. It's not a complicated concept. It's a really simple concept. The U.S. government, the largest organization in human history with the most well-funded military in history, ought to, in all the decisions it makes, put the interests of American citizens first.
Yes, and this is what goes back to what we covered today on the 4th hour of Alex, which was the dominant position back at the time of WW2. Many Americans, including people like Father Charles Coughlin, people like the Lindberghs, I'm not advocating for everything these people believed, their position, including, I think, Dulles himself, was that we should not be involved in World War II. So the reason being is that America doesn't need to be involved in European wars and conflicts, because that's the original sort of founding father ethos, to make America prosperous and not get bogged down in being world police. And of course, the Rockefellers and the temptation of the internationalists and the Rothschilds and others was too much. There's too much greed and opportunity there to not push America into being a globalist operation.
That's it. Oh, that's creepy. Sounds kind of fascist. You're going to invade Poland now? No, just the opposite. In fact, the original America Firsters were kind of against wars, and the current ones are too.
Yeah, that's what I was referring to.
Actually, it just means what it sounds like. The government ought to serve the people who pay for it, who elected them, in whose name the business of government is conducted. That's all it means. Now, there are two things to know about this idea. The first is, almost everyone's for that. Like, what percentage, if you polled that idea in the supposedly...
Now, notice, actually watching this speech, there's nothing even that radical or outlandish in this speech. The exact opposite of the lying shills on X, all of the Zio even jellyfish nonsense people acting like this was some unhinged, fascist slamming the podium, screaming rant. There's nothing like that. That's total nonsense, totally ridiculous. And the only reason all of those fakes and frauds on X are losing their mind is precisely because people are beginning to question unfettering support for Israel on the right. It's that simple. That's all it is. It's that simple. That's the reason they're freaking out.
Factious Trump coalition that's in the middle of a civil war. What percentage of people would disagree with that?
Yeah, the hard right is literally just, there is no hard right in America. Tucker isn't even hard right. That's what's so crazy, is like MAGA, Trump's policies are, I just did Ben Shapiro in the first hour. What are you talking about, dude? Ben Shapiro. We just did it. Candace did 500,000 viewers or $500,000. What are you talking about? You mean she has 500,000 viewers right now? What do you mean?
All right, you guys, happy Friday.
I don't know what you mean. The first hour today was Ben Shapiro's speech, and we're comparing it to Tucker's speech here. So, by the way, this is my video from, it's 8 years ago. In a couple months, it'll be 8 years, critiquing Jordan Peterson's classical liberalism. I was right in everything I said. Hundreds of comments were dissing me. And now, look, I even said right here, remember when this had as many dislikes as likes? I do. Well, the tables have turned. Now my video with 70,000 views has 2.4 thousand thumbs up. So it took all of these slow boys about 8 years to figure out, almost a decade, to figure out, oh, Jay was actually right when he was critiquing Dr. Peterson's classical liberalism 8 years ago. He was right all along, but it was a cult of personality. And I don't hate Dr. Peterson. I learned from and I enjoy Dr. Peterson, and I want him to be Orthodox. I want the best for him. I want him to do well and to flourish. I don't have any personal dislike or hatred or anything. Even the impressions, like I do impressions of everybody. I do impressions of people I like, people I don't like, people I love, people I can't stand. Impressions have nothing to do. It's weird too. Like you do an impression. Oh, he hates that person. He hates them. I love Alex Jones. I've done impressions of Alex Jones for years. I do them on the show. There's no hatred in an impression. Now, some people I don't like Ben Shapiro. I'll do an impression of Ben Shapiro. People love to just read into things, which is also like a weird faking gay thing.
Well, a few. You know, people whose names you know. Well, that sounds like America only. No, it's not. Just America first, simple. But like probably 95% of Trump voters would be for that.
H. Brozzi, $10 says, in Vance's recent visit to Israel, he went to Holy Sepulchre. Yeah, I know about that. I saw all the news about it. That's what I meant by saying he's fudging a little bit and not worshiping that stupid wall. I mean, is that the thing that's like, uh-oh, we got to worry about freak out because J.D. Vance didn't kiss that stupid wall. Slow Boy Whiteboard, $2. Got your book in the mail. Thank you. Guys, you can get Esoteric Hollywood Part 3. Part 3 right here. Signed copies in the shop. And good news, we are down to the last 100 orders. We're under 100. I think we have 98 orders left to go. So we went from about 450, and it's just me and Jamie doing it. And we're down to 98. And I'm still getting people, where's my order? You're probably amongst the last 98. That's all I can tell you. I am not going to go through every single person's orders to find you the exact date of when you ordered it, and when I don't know when it's going to get there because it's just me and my wife doing it all. You will get it though, I promise you that.
You like probably 70% of people who didn't vote for Trump would be for that. And if you calm down and explained it to them, probably like 90%. Why? Because
what's another thing that's super annoying about this whole, the conservative sphere is that, the people that are the sort of the big name conservanormies, the Michael Knowleses or what, like Michael Knowles will not address any of the types of topics that I bring up. What about Vatican II's documents about Judaism and Nostra Aetate and all of that? They won't address any of that. They're never going to talk about that. Every day people say, when are you going to debate Michael Knowles? Michael Knowles is not going to debate me. Ben Shapiro is not going to debate. None of these people are going to debate. Have you not figured this out yet? We're basically at a point where nobody will debate me who isn't just a complete goobertard. Okay, that's it. That's the only people left. After Tim Gordon, there's no one else left who wants to debate. They don't. There's nobody. And for this arena debate thing, like I told those guys to people setting all that up, I'm like, I don't think you're going to find anybody who will debate me. And I'm not being a dick. I'm not being arrogant. I'm literally saying what I think is the truth. I don't think there's a person who wants to go into a big arena debate with me. I said, and I listed like 10 people. I'll tell you who I listed. And it was people that the only people I thought might actually do it. And then it got down to like last resort is the worst of the worst would be like Need God. But he won't even debate on like a real subject. It has to be some false dialectic gay topic that he comes, or do you believe in salvation by faith or works? I'll be the faith part. It's like, dude, come on. So here was my suggestion of people to debate, and I don't think any of these people are going to do it. Stefan Molyneux round 2, which would be a good discussion. Maybe Stefan would be willing to do it. Sam Harris, Professor Dave, Mohammed Hijab, Piers Morgan, Michael Knowles, Wes Huff, Dinesh D'Souza, Cosmic Skeptic, David Icke, Dave Smith on Libertarianism, Trent Horn, Jimmy Aiken. Or last resort, Joe Heschmeyer, Need God. That was all the people I suggested to the World War debate people. I don't think any of those people will do it. Even if World War debate figured out how to offer some money to do it, I still don't think they'll do it. Now, Ben Shapiro, so far in comparing these two speeches, Ben came off angry and vindictive, and Tucker comes off as normal, lackadaisical, laughing. He's laughing. He's having fun. He's joking. Ben Shapiro is angry, vindictive. It's the opposite of the way that it's portrayed on X. All the Zioslop. Basically, you can just assume that whatever the Zioslop people are saying on X, it's the opposite. You can just assume that.
Self-evident, like most true things. And moreover, and think this through for a second, there is no other legitimate rationale for running our government. We have self-government. This is a democratic republic.
AC, $5. No, I don't think it's worth debating Khalil and Donnie because all he wants is a place at the table. He wants Shia Neoplatonic nonsense to be given attention, and he's already lost his debate to Scam Shamu. And it's just not worth giving people that want to be seen the attention that they want in some cases. Now, if there's mass conversions to Shia Islam, maybe it's time to address Dr. Khalil and have a public debate. But people aren't converting to Shia Islam. AC, we need a digital non-sedition acts gang. Blink 444, $5. Goblin Demon Boomer Tard has ended every music ever. Music is now over. Thank you. Andrew, what do you think about Arvol and his colony? Is it compatible? Well, the problem is that Arvol is crazy. I don't believe him to be a sane person, so I wouldn't go live in his colony. White Lightning, $5. Do you think debunking Christian Zionism will actually help Orthodoxy grow even bigger? Absolutely, of course. Skippy Red, debate Richard Spencer. Already did. We already had a debate 8-10 years ago. It's just going to be the same debate. Although I guess since isn't Richard Spencer like a normie Democrat now? So maybe it wouldn't be the same debate. I don't know. I don't know that he does debates. Nick C, $5. Ben Shapiro only debated blue-haired libs to dunk on them for content, but he will not debate high-profile names. He's a faker. Yeah, exactly. I don't understand why people couldn't figure this out. I said this about Ben Shapiro 10 years ago. Like this guy doesn't debate anybody with like an actual challenge. It's low-hanging fruit, but debating low-hanging fruit, I mean, it's good for building an audience. Ortho Anglo Croat, $25. You should listen to Damek's Vision for Orthodox Media. You are not named there, but he has red flags. He also disses death of the world and that entire ethos. Dude, nobody cares about what Father Damick says. That whole, like, I mean, ancient faith is not what people are even looking to. They made their bed years ago, and they wanted to, alienate everybody who was an ortho bro. Father Damick called them all incels. He had to publicly apologize for it. I don't care if Father Damick issues a warning about ortho bro. Like, he's already been doing that for like eight years. Like, who cares? And I'm not mad at you for the super chat, but like, I don't care anymore. I don't care what Damick says. I don't care who or what Orthodox priests or someone dissed you on Twitter. I don't care. Father Soroka already went to a Jewish ecumenist magazine to contribute to a hit piece on me. Do you think I care that they've been warning about Ortho Bros for 8-10 years, and the audience at Ancient Faith has only declined. So let them keep declining. H. Brazzi, obligatory reminder, we love our ortho ladies. Slow Boy Whiteboard and OBG. H. Brazzi, $10. I kid you not. In Vance's most recent visit to Israel, he went to we read that. Rui Texera at 77. Regarding your audience, my opinion is that you defend Orthodox Christianity with all your heart and soul. That divides people because most people are not Orthodox. Yeah, could be. Banana up the butt, $10. Jay, have you ever looked at Eyes Wide Open channel on YouTube? It has a lot of videos about CIA drug trade. I have. In fact, I've watched several of those. I think we even did some streams where we played some of those videos on the stream. It is a good channel, and it ties into what we're discussing in our newest Global Elite book, Old Boys, Burton Hirsch. And I gotta chastise you guys, because part of the problem is you guys in the audience. I'm talking to you guys. Now, usually I'm kissing the butt of my audience, but I'm sorry, I gotta fuss at you guys a little bit, because when I do the real historical deep dives, only half of you guys watch it, which tells me that 1,500 to 2,000 people will come over here and watch me live talking about Candace and Tucker and Ben Shapiro drama. But when I go into the real information that would arm you and equip you, like spies control us, only 8.7 thousand of you will come watch it. We should have had 2, 5, 10,000 people watching this stream. But people want drama. They want soap opera. They want all this gibberish. They don't want the real stuff. And I mean, it's okay. I understand it. I have low expectations for everyone. That way I'm pleasantly surprised when anything good happens. But again, I'm going to chastise you guys. You guys need to get into this stuff over what did Tucker say to Ben? What did Ben Shapiro say? Oh my gosh, did you hear what Candace said? Oh, This is soap opera stuff. Okay. Now, it does matter, because it's important to see the narrative breaking. And that's the reason that we're covering this. As we said when we covered the Candace stuff, it's not about Candace and Eric and all that. That's what everybody's tuning in for the soap opera. But the real issue is the boomer Zio matrix, mind matrix, control matrix breaking. That's what's breaking. That's why this is such a big deal. That's why all of the shills on X are losing their mind.
Exists for our benefit. The documents are written that way. The point of the American Revolution was to make that point. And so if you're not operating the federal government on behalf of U.S. citizens, you're illegitimate. You actually have no right to rule. Period. And if you disagree, tell me what the other legitimate justification is. Oh, because my friends or people I agree with or in my, interest group no. The government must, this is non-negotiable, operate on behalf of American citizens. So, once you realize.
And what he means is that's not Israel first. That's why everyone is so mad about this. That's why they're losing their mind.
That's the statement at the center of the debate. It all becomes pretty clear. Really clear, actually. It's not an ideological debate. There's nothing ideological about that. I've got all kinds of kooky ideological views. I love Knowles' list of all the views. I probably had most of them in my long and varied life. I have fewer now. I just kind of want to see a good faith effort to improve the country. That's it. And I'm ever aware that I'm not exactly sure the right way a lot of times. Are tariffs the best way to help the country? I don't know. I hope so. Not an expert. All I really care about is that the people in charge care, that they love the people they lead. That is the first and most important requirement of leadership. A father who loves his children may make mistakes, probably will.
Yeah, and that's not going to happen with Infinity Indians. Exactly. Again, this was the whole, I co-wrote the Sam Hyde season 1, almost every episode. I mean, I didn't write every episode, literally all of them. I'm saying, like, I had a significant hand in all the episodes, including the H-1B visa and the Vivek episodes. So that's the point of those episodes.
Really well. I did. But if he loves his kids, he'll do a pretty good job, and they'll be fine. An officer who loves his men, you know, he can't control the battle, but they'll do better than the officer who doesn't. The president who truly loves his people will, over time, tend to make wiser decisions on their behalf. But the leaders who don't care at all, they'll destroy your country. And that is absolutely what we've had. That's, by the way, not noted as an effort to blackpill you, or an effort to discourage you or convince you you have no agency or control. You have a lot of control. You just changed the government. Good. But if you want to know what the debate is going forward and what your job is going forward, it's holding your leaders to that very simple standard. Not on tariffs or any of these specific policy questions necessarily, but on...
Yeah, I mean, isn't this all exactly just like basic principles of America First? I don't mean necessarily Fuentes's stuff. I'm just saying the idea of putting America first. Like, how is this even like controversial when all of the people on X are literally freaking out, losing their mind as if this is some new, you know, like literal, you know, tiny mustache man speeches at the beer hall putsch or something, right? Andrew, what do you think of the Chinese Orthodox Church? Sounds cool. I don't know much about it, but I hope there's more of it. Solomon, I'm in the top 1% of Dyer viewers. In 2025, I watched 466 of your videos. You can put the flowers on my table. Well, thank you very much, Solomon. Appreciate you being such an avid listener. Hopefully it benefited you. Andrew, $2. I second the guy that said debate Professor Dave. Well, I did message him on Instagram. So that's where people said that he replies. And so far, I've not heard anything back from Professor Dave. So I don't know. X, review the new Paul Thomas Anderson movie. Okay, I'll have to check it out. I'm not familiar with what the new one is. Andrew, what's your favorite papal quote? Mine. All of them, because they're all fake and gay. Trey, debate the science professor atheist guy. That's Professor Dave. Islamic cousin Fowker, $20. Thank you for all that you do. Thank you. Appreciate you, Islamic cousin Humper. H. Brosy, $5. Imagine if Tucker tossed out Ben boxing gloves and said, just square up, dude. That would be funny. JB Peltier, but Jay, what about the Abrahamic religion? Oh, there is no Abrahamic religion except for Orthodox Christianity. That's it. AC, $5. Ancient Faith got Dr. Zach Porcu on to make critiques of liberalism now. Well, I guess they had to find somebody because, I mean, they were platforming women like Angela Dole Carson who were for women's ordination. They were pushing her books. So, I mean, unless they want to have zero audience, they might as well get somebody. Element to $5. K. Griggs vindicated with the current development of news. I'm surprised you haven't covered K. Griggs talks. I mean, I can't keep up with everybody's stuff, dude. Like, I mean, I'm sorry, I don't find every random conspiracy person's video and cover it. I must be part of the cover up. JB, $5. Very ironic for Ben Shapiro to finger wag about not trusting the world around you. Yeah, isn't that kind of a pathology of certain people? Nelly, $40. Jay, big man, thank you for the education. Thank you for the tracks. Merry Christmas to you and Jamie. God bless. Merry Christmas to you too. Thank you. Nelly's over there. Take off all his clothes. It's getting hot in here, Nelly. H. Brazzi, $5. For the sake of argument, we could just grant that everything that Ben Shapiro said was true. However, Ben Shapiro is still a little hat bro, and we win by default. Now, Ben can go back to his country and leave our country. D. Murdoch, $5. If guilt by association is a valid way to critique people, then Fox owns Tubi, and Tubi platforms movies that are recommended by NAMBLA. Interesting guilt. Yeah, you could actually use guilt by association to like destroy everybody. So basically everybody is now destroyed and compromised if you want to get really savvy with guilt by association. Journey of Abundance, $5. Russia and U.S. should be best friends, but we still have boomers in charge, and they have boners for the Cold War. Well, boomer neocons especially, right? And they have a long hatred and vendetta against Christian Russia. MV, $2. Church Fathers, books behind you. What's the publisher? The Philip Schaff Church Fathers set. AC, $5. The strongest conspiracy data we have is older conspiracies and reading the books that let you navigate conspiracies without naivety or overreaching. Exactly. So the very thing that ironically Ben Shapiro is calling for and asking for is what I do on my channel. So if you want evidences, well, how about working through dozens of elite texts for the last decade? How's that for the strongest rational between Scylla and Charybdis navigating of the conspiracy geopolitical world? Glacier, $10. Hello, Habibi. Can we go to Furry Week? You are our #1 furry Latinizer. Blessed Miko, the gay Latinizer, will be there. Well, I guess if you go to Furry Week, you will see him there. St. Michael, save us. Here's some bread for Voice of Booty's Patreon. Voice of Juicy Booty Patreon. Bob Dog, $10. Oh, you're saying Ben Shapiro debated Cenk Uygur and Anna Kasparian. They're the best opponents that he's ever debated. Oh my gosh. That's the best of his opponents he's ever debated, is like these weird liberals. And by the way, Anna Kasparian actually, she did a video the other day I actually agreed with. So I probably don't agree with her on anything else, but she did a video on, I forget what it was even about. Maybe it was foreign policy or something. I don't know. But Glacier, $5. Are you going to Furry Weekend in Atlanta? Absolutely not. You will never catch me anywhere near anything remotely furry. Journey of Abundance, $10. Here's 11,000 sats. Well, thank you. If you want to support the stream, you can. This is my Bitcoin wallet right here for people who want to support via Bitcoin. You can send to that QR code address right there, as Journey of Abundance just did. AC, $20. Jay, does Groups X gain an unaccountable deep state with total negative trade-offs from interventionism? Therefore, we should reject interventionism work as a first order argument before secondary arguments about who's in charge. Okay, so let's see if we can navigate this. In parentheses, Group X gains unaccountable deep state with no trade-offs from interventionism. Therefore, we should reject interventionism. Does that work as a first order argument before secondary arguments about who's in charge? I'm going to be honest with you, I don't even understand. I think trying to apply strict, formal, logical arguments to geopolitics is difficult. I'm not trying to, I just don't even understand. I'm not saying you're making a mistake. I'm just not understanding. Octavian, $10. There are 1,000 pastors that went to Israel and they trained 100,000 ambassadors. Brace yourself for unprecedented slop levels. Yeah, that's what's coming, exactly. Orthonaut, $2. Hobbit freestyle dropping when? I don't know if I'll do another Hobbit song. AC, $5. Ben Shapiro will grease up America really good.
Really good. You have a very plump treasury.
That's funny. Victor Ziegler, $11. Good to see you highlight demonic influences of other countries. It's in the mainstream. It's in Christianity versus Judaism is antagonistic. It's the central world conflict since 33 AD. Well, I would say it's the central conflict, spiritually speaking, maybe nowadays, but I don't think it was like the central conflict in the Middle Ages. I mean, I think probably Islam became much more of a challenge, than rabbinic Judaism in the Middle Ages, I'm guessing. So Al-Rabana, I mean, Jews are a very small portion of the population, right? But anyway. Andrew, $10. Jay, you actually showed me how dumb both Judaism and Islam are as religions. I was a religious study major when I was in college, but I've learned more about both religions from watching all of your debates and live streams than all the years in my expensive private school degree. That is a common refrain that people do tend to learn more from my videos than even from their controlled faking gay education system. Quaterio Vaughn, $3. Quatrio Vaughn. Shut up, Edomite. Shut up, white boy. I like the way you think, dog. Anonymous, $10. What's up, Jay? I'm interested in apologetics. Can you suggest where to start? Arguments for God, defending problem texts of scripture. What about the problem of evil? I mean, all of those are there's a lot of topics here. So, I mean, I have old videos about problem of evil. Go watch all the lectures with me and Father Deacon Dr. Ananias on TAG. We have probably 10, 15 podcasts on TAG. If you go to Patristic Faith website, to his YouTube channel, you'll see that there's a playlist of all the TAG stuff. And that would probably be the best place to start. Zog's Royal Cat, $5. This is a great stream. Thank you, Jay. Always on point. Thank you. No Face Killa, $5. Voice of Reason was on Hola Sona. I don't know who or what that is. And straight up lied, saying that Catholics don't teach filioque as a personal hypostatic procession. I'm glad he stepped away from ministry. I mean, that dude is just something else. Minute Mite, $5. Jay, this is my first time donation. I got a family. That's both 7 days and I've got family that are Seventh-day Adventists and Jehovah's Witnesses. What resources would you recommend on how they're wrong? Watch my Trinity in the Old Testament lectures for your Jehovah's Witness relative. And I mean, for Seventh-day Adventism, you could watch my talks on charismaticism, because Seventh-day Adventists are really just another type of charismatic. So the talks dealing with charismatics, you can just search on my channel right here in the search box for refuting charismatic Pentecostal stuff. You see the search box right here. Also on my Clips channel, J. Dyer Live Streams and Absurdities, there's a discussion of this one right here, Revelation Ended. That's a good one. Protestant Catholic Charismatics, that's a good one right there. Those are actually pretty good for SDA too, but also Seventh-day Adventists are massive Judaizers. And so any of the Judaizing debates that I've done would also by extension apply to the errors of Seventh-day Adventism. So you could you could watch this J versus Jew, J versus Messianic Jew, this. All of these would also by extension refute Seventh-day Adventism. Amber, $10. Look at Ben Shapiro singing He's a Super Diva. Well, I remember that song that came out with that stupid rapper. Remember that? And that actually went to like #1 on the charts. I was like, what the heck reality am I living in, dude? Remember that stupid song with that dumbass white rapper? Oh my gosh. Remember that? 23 million views. Can you believe this?
They call me offensive, controversial. There's only
This is conservatism in America. That's why this is all just kind of like, that's why I just joke about shit. Like none of this stuff is, you can't take this stuff seriously, dude. This is all so retarded. Max, $15. Merry Christmas. What do you think of the Ukrainian Orthodox Schism? I mean, go watch the podcast on that. That's too much. 3 hours in to rehearse all that. Obviously, I'm against the CIA's fake created church. What about the fact that the Moscow's been tied to the KGB? I mean, that's the Cold War's over, dude. There's no KGB. There hasn't been a KGB for 30 years. So that's old, stupid boomer shit, man. That's over. Andrew, $5. I picked up my first philosophy book because of you. It's Aristotle's Metaphysics. Good. It's a good place to start. I would actually start, though, with Plato's Dialogues, because you're not really going to understand Aristotle's critiques without understanding his master that he's critiquing. So you should really be familiar with the pre-Socratics, because they set the stage for Plato. And then you should be familiar with Plato because he sets the stage for Aristotle. And then you are ready for the Stoics and for the Neoplatonists, right? Because they're going to be grappling with the stuff that their predecessors grapple with. And really all of philosophy is an ongoing historical conversation. So the best place to start for Western philosophy is usually the pre-Socratics. I mean, if you really want to start in Aristotle, you can, but it just helps to understand what they're kind of responding to. So, but yeah, you can start there. Remember also, guys, I do have a philosophy course that you can buy in the shop. It's a full college level type course. Excuse me, not in the shop, in my show description. And that is the link right here, the new philosophy course. The link is Richard Grove's Autonomy Agora Marketplace. So I'll put that right here in the chat for you guys. It's a full course, 12 lectures, 24-ish hours worth of lecture material. It includes 3 recommended reading books, 3 recommended reading texts, and even 2 guest lectures with Father Deacon Dr. Ananias on epistemology, and my priest, Father Vladimir, on aesthetics. But in regard to the Moscow EP Orthodox Schism, if you go to my channel, I have many old podcasts addressing that.
Motive.
Can you look me in the face and explain to me why the thing that you are doing, the money you're appropriating, can you tell me why that helps our country and our people? Tell me how. And if you're doing the whole shut up racist thing, then I have a right to question your motives, actually. Why can't you answer the question? Why can't you answer that question? Why do you have to imply that some college kid is like some kind of Hitlerite or something because he's asking about an event? Like, what? By the way, it is okay to ask questions. And I thought that was like the whole reason we were against the left. They're not going to force you to get up there and make ritual denunciations because this isn't my religion, it's politics. By the way, your politics do not trump my love for other people.
Well, this country's 250th birthday.
And he once said something lunatic, as brothers do. And I remember all these reporters, one from the Washington Post, which used to be a newspaper in Washington, calling me and being like, will you denounce your brother? I said, son, if my brother went on a drug-related murder spree, I would not denounce him. What? Are you?
Yeah, I mean, he's making a point about using rhetoric to stress that, you know, I'm not going to denounce my family members even if they do something heinous. I'll denounce the event or the action as heinous, but I'm not going to hate my family members because I love my family and my friends. So he's just expressing the principle of, you know, the ties that bind. And all of these idiots and liars on Twitter took that as if he was saying some insane pro-murderous thing. It's just so stupid, man.
Related murder sprees? No, I'm for my brother. And nothing will ever make me not for my brother. Now, I'd probably tell him no more drug-related murder sprees for you. I'm not for that. I'm not for a lot of things, actually. But I will never, ever denounce people I love to satisfy the mob. Right?
Yeah, this is how they control everybody, through cancellation, cancel culture. That's what the left has done. And to, you know, have these fake right-wingers demand through moral blackmail that you denounce everybody that says something that they don't like is literally cancel culture bullshit. That was his point.
I mean, it's crazy. So as you think through, like, what should this movement be and what side should you take on the conservative civil war? Whoa! You already know the answer. You're on the side of America first. And if they can't tell you why it's America first, you just won the argument because they don't have one. Shut up, Nazi is no different from shut up, racist.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what the left does. And most of the right in America are just leftists because America doesn't have a genuine conservative right-wing movement. You cannot have that without a religious grounding and paradigm. That's why all the normie conservatives immediately cave to the butt stuff. They're all pro-butt stuff. That's conservative values now because there is no legitimate conservatism in America.
It's a little more annoying, actually. And I would just say this, too.
And you're not going to get it, by the way, with the gay-pacy, right? The Roman Catholic gay-pacy is not going to be a foundation for legitimate conservatism or legitimate right-wing when it's basically also, via Nostra Aetate, a Judaized institution.
Because the passion is real, the anger is real. I feel it sometimes.
Dude, the Pope every day calls for open borders. The Pope supported the gay pilgrimage in the Vatican a few weeks ago. How is that going to be the religion that grounds conservatism? It's so stupid.
I wanted to get involved, but somehow I keep involving myself. And I try not to read the internet because I don't feel like it's good for my soul. But, you know, more addictive than cigarettes. I quit cigarettes, not Twitter. I think I'm going back to cigarettes and giving up Twitter. Whatever, I don't want to burden you. Not kidding, actually. But anyway, the point is, you need to remember, if you're a Christian, and I think there are a lot of them in this room, that Jesus makes demands on you and holds standards for you that are very different from those, as my friend, close friend, Russell Brand so beautifully explained, they're very different from those of the world, which really is controlled by Satan. It's hard even to say that because it's so dark, but it's also so true. So don't be surprised. When Jesus sends out the disciples, one of my favorite passages in the whole New Testament, when Jesus in Matthew 10 sends the disciples out, he's just picked them like 10 minutes before. He's like, all right, I want you guys, road trip, no money, no clothes, no staff. And by the way, you're going to get flogged. You're going to get beaten with whips and arrested. I'm sure they're all thinking like, what? I thought we were the winners here. And when that happens, like, don't worry about what you're going to say. The Holy Spirit will speak for you. And I'm like, I just can't get over the blasé way in which he just tells them the world is going to try and kill you, which, by the way, it did. I think all of them end up getting killed. And that's just the baseline. We're promised that. It's a fact. You get up and give a speech about Jesus. You talk about Jesus. You try to live out his commands. You're going to get attacked. Okay, we know that. Don't whine. Here's the pitfall. Here's the trap, is becoming hateful yourself. And I sincerely believe that this is a spiritual battle. And I'm not.
Now that he is correct about, and that's why really orthodoxy is the only way out of this mess and this boomer mind matrix. Because if it just turns into mindless counter hatred, you're not going to get anywhere and you're going to destroy yourself. Benjamin, $5. Jay, he's referencing a question from a college kid who asked him a question after a speech. Check it out. I'll try to find that. Zester, $5. I thought about buying a Kindle for books. Is that fake and gay compared to physical books? Yes. I do not recommend a Kindle. You need to have a physical book that you physically interact with, touch, handle, read, underline, make notes in. That's essential to retaining the information. Ethan Klein, $2. Debate Hamas Piker. Hamas Piker was bragging about how he was supposed to debate Charlie a week after he died. I would debate Hassan Piker, but there's no way he's going to ever do a debate. Minute Might, $5. Sorry, the voice to text messed up. I found you through Kurt Metzger. I've been watching your content. Hope to see him come back on. Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed the conversations and the times I've chatted with Kurt. He's a character. He's always welcome. Gondor, $5. Is Hollywood dead? I mean, pretty much. I mean, it doesn't mean movies are dead. I think the traditional Hollywood studio system is dead, but I'm sure that, you said, where are movies going? I mean, streaming services are churning out movies nonstop. So I guess that's the new Hollywood. Whether it will be as successful, I don't know. But I mean, there's still going to be movies and movie blockbusters and movie theater movies and all that. I don't know if it's ever going to be, back to the levels that it was pre-Coof. I mean, maybe. I don't know where it's going to go. Joshua, $20. What's up, OG? Triple OG? I am looking at Orthodoxy. I got an Orthodox study Bible. I got a book on the Church Fathers. I've been browsing Orthodox books. Are there any authors that you recommend I do not read? I don't ever get asked that question. I mean, I guess probably. I'm looking over at my Orthodox bookshelf to see if anybody stands out as, really bad to not read. I mean, David Bentley Hart nowadays is like a perennialist universalist. I mean, most Orthodox books, even by liberals, they still kind of have a usage, right? Like The Invention of Peter was written by a Fordham lib, but it's a use. Off the top of my head, I'm not sure who to say. I'm sure there is some like pro-gay Orthodox book or something. I just don't know off the top of my head. Bulgakov, yeah, I would avoid Bulgakov.
Everyone who disagrees with me is on the side of evil. I don't think that. I think I'm often wrong. I know that I am. But I do think that fundamentally, this is light versus darkness. I do. And darkness is characterized by rage and division and chaos and confusion. And light is God is characterized by the opposite of those things. And I've noticed this. There are attempts to make people hateful. One of the reasons people scream insults in your face is to provoke a reaction from you and make you hate them. They want you to hate them. They want you to become what they call you. Why? Because evil feeds on hate. That's why. So don't participate in that.
Journey of Abundance, $5. I would like a Pope of the Future t-shirt. Yeah, I think we'll eventually get around to doing merch. We've had so many requests for merch. We just haven't done it yet. Have you done esoteric review of any Wes Anderson movies? Rolf Stakes. Actually, I don't think so. I mean, I've watched most. I haven't seen the last two Wes Anderson movies, but I've seen most of them, but I haven't really done a deep dive on them. That might be something I think what we're going to do is for movies, we're going to start doing podcasts based around actors and directors. And we're going to do like 3 good and then their worst. So we'll do 4 films per, we'll do like a Keanu stream, Mel Gibson stream, Sean Connery stream, blah, 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 on and on and on, Humphrey Bogart stream. And we'll pick their 3 best and then one of their worst to kind of laugh at. I think that could make for a new domain to enter movie-wise so that we're not limited to like esoteric movies, because not all movies are esoteric. There's a lot of good movies that are just entertaining or good production, good acting, all kinds of stuff out there that we'd like to broaden the scope. I did like Fantastic Mr. Fox. I remember seeing that back when it came out. Roll Stick says for $10. So maybe we should do the most requested for the next movie podcast was number 1, Mel Gibson. So to do his 3 best and his 1 worst, critically rated worst. And then the next was Christopher Lee. Interestingly enough, I wouldn't have expected you guys to be so hyped up for a Christopher Lee movie, but yeah, we need to do a Wes Anderson stream, and that would be a really good podcast. So that's what we're gonna do next. Steven Seagal marathon. That'd be funny. Pauly Shore marathon. Pauly Shore could be fun, right? Like Brendan Fraser stream. That'd be fun. Neptune, $5. Will Alex O'Connor debate you? No, he won't. We've asked many times. Cholo, $5. Jay, you should go debate cholos in the hood. Explain to them that their lifestyle is only possible because of feminism, because they deny marriage. Interesting. Hey, homie, I'll back you up. There's nothing more comical than meeting feminist cholos. Interesting. That does sound funny. JB Peltier, $10. Do you have any opinion on Christ's eternal Tao? It's one of those texts that I've never gotten around to that I've wanted to read for a long time. The premise sounds good. In the beginning was the Tao. The Tao was with God and was the Tao. That had me saying, yikes. I mean, I don't think the words themselves are not the problem, as long as it's conveying the right idea. I mean, that's the whole premise of translating the liturgy and the scriptures into every native tongue. So, I don't see necessarily an immediate problem with that, but I've not read the book, so I can't really comment on it. But it is one that I meant to get to for a long time. Guys, remember also we have a show sponsor, which is Choq.com, CHOQ.com, the best in supplementation on the internet. And we have a special going right now, which is that you can get 60% off by using promo code J60Life. That's JAY60Life, J60Life. Special papal indulgence for this season. You get 60% off with J60Life. You can unsubscribe at any time, but I do recommend either that performance stack or the male vitality stack here. 60% off. You can't beat it. The best in supplementation on the internet. Choq.com. Get your toxic masculinity levels up. Yeah, by the way, I do like Rushmore. Rushmore is I mean, I like a lot of Wes Anderson movies. The last few that I saw were kind of trailing off. And Grand Hotel was okay. Um, I was not that hyped about the next one, but I haven't watched it. Maybe it gets good. Um, have you done a George Clooney stream? They seem like their intelligence. Yeah, they absolutely are. No, we need to do a Clooney stream. I mean, I didn't dislike Grand Hotel. I just thought it was kind of mid. It wasn't. I just feel like Wes Anderson has been really good, and then they've just been kind of been, yeah. But I've not seen the newest one with the Benicio del Toro, so we need to do that one too. Bottle Rocket's great. It's really funny. I just haven't seen the last two Wes Anderson movies, so we'll see. Andrew, here's a $5 super chat to break up my $2 so I don't look like a cheapo. Thank you, dude. Appreciate that. Skippy, $2. What happened to 3i Atlas and the nuclear war that was supposed to happen? Well, that shit's always fake and gay. Anybody following all that retard stuff is an idiot. Jordan Snell, $5. We did him. He was a top listener. Viceroy, $5. Do you have any upcoming film reviews? Yes, we're going to do Mel Gibson stream. We're going to do like, as I said, actor focused streams and director focused streams. That's the way now to branch out and to also make it funny by covering 3 good and 1 bad. So it's going to be fun to pick, you know, what's Keanu's worst rated movie? I don't know. Like, I don't even know off the top of my head what that would be. Worst rated. Would it be like, what's that one about the mailbox? Johnny Mnemonic. It looks like it's pretty bad. We've done Johnny Mnemonic. I didn't know it was the worst rated one. Whoa. The worst of Keanu. Well, The Matrix, not bad. That's not a bad movie. Okay, I've never even heard of Bram Stoker's Dracula was not bad. Now, Chain Reaction, that could be bad, and Day the Earth Stood Still. That's probably his worst. Those two look pretty bad. So that will be fun to do. Okay, now last thing I did want to kind of just touch on. Remember also to go and watch the Spies Control Us stream, because I'm going through a very important book and nobody cares about the actual book stuff. Everybody just wants to be entertained, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with infotainment, but balance your infotainment with actual information. I watched part of the interview with this military whistleblower man. Is this it? And I'm not saying this is fake or I have no idea. My only thing is just simply that when it comes to these sort of military whistleblower people, these people are not I'm not saying this isn't true. I just don't know. Like, how are we supposed to know what this guy's saying? We're just sort of taking his word for it. Maybe she has some way by which she's vetted and checked out the information. But how do we know military whistleblower stories are true? You know what I mean? And I've watched alternative media stuff for 20 plus years. I've seen so many whistleblower people come with just full bullshit. And I'm not saying necessarily that's the case with this guy. I'm just saying I would be cautious with I walked into the military base and I saw them planning the this and the that, and it reminds me of the guys who I was brought into the military base and they took me down and I saw the alien hybrids in the underground bases, and I'm not saying this guy's saying that. I'm saying that it reminds me of that. Okay, so I'm not sure what to make of this yet.
Said, you should call Mitch after I prayed and said, I'm missing a piece of this. Please, God, give me a piece of the story. And the first email I see when I get back from church on a day of holy obligation is this email. And so, Mitch, my audience is up to date on what happened to you when you were 20 years old. And I'm wondering if you can just sort of briefly recap.
I mean, how do we verify? That's what I'm saying. Like, how do we verify that this guy had this 30-year trial persecution by the military? It's possible, but I mean, how am I, as a viewer, am I just supposed to go by vibes? I mean, that's the problem with military whistleblower people with all of these claims and assertions. It's just, there's not really any way for us in the audience to verify it. Doesn't mean that I'm saying Candace is intentionally lying. Maybe there's people reaching out to her and maybe they're telling her stuff, right? I mean, who knows? And maybe they're lying to her. Who knows? Chuck, $5. When St. Athanasius speaks of death and mortality, is he speaking of different things, being bodily death and mortality, meaning not existing for forever? Well, if you are referring to where he talks about death in the fall, he's talking about death being a characteristic of life after the fall. So it's seen by us as natural or part of human life after the fall. He is not saying that death is natural. David Moore, $20. I'm going to try to work in your long form into a rotation. What do you think about Francis Schaeffer? I don't follow Francis Schaeffer. What about the trilogy, How Should We Then Live? I mean, it's all a bunch of Calvinist stuff, and I mean, his son became Orthodox and then apostatized. So I was into Francis Schaeffer's stuff when I was a Calvinist when I was 20. Haven't thought about it since then. But thank you for the super chat, David. Appreciate it. All right. Thank you guys so much. That's really all I had to say for tonight. There's a little bit more of Tucker's speech, but we did the first 3/4 of it, and we've already gone for 3 hours. So we'll stop it there. Thank you guys. A lot of fun tonight. Great crowd. We had about 1,500. Appreciate